Alrighty, folks, it's 7 o'clock, so I'll call us to order, and thanks everybody for joining us tonight. It's a beautiful evening out there, and for those who are watching us on Rogers, I guess next Monday, and those who are watching us live streaming, thanks for joining in and following along. Council, if you can stand and join me in the council commitment, please. We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed upon Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. We ask that all in attendance and those who could not be here to assist us in promoting good government, may our decisions as members of the council be enlightened, and may we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and our responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town for the benefit of all, and to make good laws and wise decisions. Thank you all for attending. Agenda item number 3 is declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any member of council have a pecuniary interest in tonight's session? Seeing none at this time, if you find yourself in that position as we move along, let me know and we'll address it appropriately. Moving on to approval of tonight's agenda. It's moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the agenda of the regular council meeting of June 22nd, 2016 be approved as presented. Any comments, questions on tonight's agenda? Councillor Saunders, please.
Thank you, Worship. I just wondered if there are any particular items, given our audience, that we want to move upward and earlier in the agenda.
I think item 6 is up early, and that's Mr. Staffen. And I think that's the majority of it. And then the second part is presentations on Committee of the Whole, which is from Phil. And the run is where, Stace? Oh, yeah, and Committee of the Whole is also the Terry Fox run. So, yeah, so we're fine, but thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Agenda item number 5 is a public meeting. We have a public meeting. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act to consider an application to amend the town's zoning bylaw to remove a holding H symbol from property at 93 MacArthur Drive. And I'd ask the Director of Planning and Community Development to introduce the application, confirm notification, and note any correspondence received. Andrea, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We have an application to remove the holding H symbol from the property at 93 MacArthur Drive. Notice of the public meeting was provided to residents within 120 meters of the subject lands on June 10th, 2016, and to date we've not received any correspondence from any of the neighbors or agencies. The application is typical removal of the H symbol upon confirmation that the septic system on the property is in operating good working order and can accommodate the planned renovations for the building. So we have received that information from the applicant, and our building department is satisfied that the property will provide for adequate septic on the property. Therefore, the removal of the holding symbol will allow the current owners to apply for a building permit. They're going to do some extensive renovations to the existing seasonal cottage located on the property.
So, thank you very much. Does any member of the audience want to speak on this application? Seeing none, I'll turn to council. Any questions for the director on this? Seeing none, then I guess when will this matter be considered by council, Andrea?
The bylaw actually was on tonight's agenda,
Okay.
so there is no statutory time period for when the public meeting's held to when council can consider passage of a bylaw.
Okay, so that'll come later on this evening. Okay, thank you very much. So then that'll conclude the public meeting. Moving on to deputations and presentations. We have a deputation from Rob Staffen, who's the Village Square Mall, Main Street reconstruction. So, Rob, welcome, and the podium to our left is yours. And I'll ask Michelle to make sure the microphone's on for Rob to speak.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, we'll drive the ship for you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, on behalf of our family, why I'm here today is I wanted to share basically our story about the mall. I guess we all saw the paper last week, and my wife was the one that gave me the shot, where she said, "You've never been angry for at least 5 years," and there's a long story behind that. But I was actually in a cycling accident. She says, that's the one thing about that cycling accident that I think was number one, was you just don't get angry. So when we saw the article, it was a bit shocking to us because of the history how we do business. But I thought maybe part of the problem was that I've actually never been here to talk to you people about our plans for the mall and about how we ended up owning the mall. So I thought, you know, communication is key in family businesses. We really only have 2 businesses. We have one in our community where I live, is St. Mary's, Ontario, and we have this one. So I thought I would just share a bit about the story about the mall. We're obviously part of the reason we're here, and we also have a representative from Sobeys. I have my mall manager, Dale Forget, here as well. Over the exit, the in and out exit, because of what the article said in the paper. We have been on, and I will have to do one apology, because my son has been working with Brian quite a bit on this project. He wanted to be here, but the other business we own is a golf course, and we are having one of those weeks from heaven in the golf industry. We had the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame golf tournament. I actually got to golf with Pat Henkin, if you can believe it, who was getting into our hall. Unbelievable day. But we have 5 golf tournaments, 3 weddings, and 1 100th anniversary birthday party. So he really wanted to be here tonight, and he's the one that's supposed to keep me calm. So he did send his apologies. So I just want to share, and I'll keep it very brief. I do PowerPoints now because of my accident. It just saves me screwing up. So we figure we're part of this community, and we started out in the supermarket business, just like Jerry Light, who owned the mall, and I don't know how many of you would know Jerry. That's how it all got started. So we are on the edge of town, but I write business plans and visions for the community I live in. I've written 3 of them for St. Mary's. I wrote the business plan for Jerry that ended up me having the mall, because I believed that I could save that mall and save this community. And so I want to share that story with you. So I guess we can go to, sorry. So here, who we are. So, because we are not smart centers. This is the only mall we actually own. So you can't call us a conglomerate in the mall business. So my wife Sharon and I are the controlling shareholders. My brother Tim, who lives in Burlington, is a minor shareholder. My daughter Julia and my son Matt both serve on the board and come to almost all of our meetings, working for other businesses other than my son recently left Bylaws to come to work for us, partly because of my accident. We have 68% ownership of the mall, and we are 3 generations of retailers. So whenever I get into a bit of an issue with being a landlord, I actually find it comical in a sense, because I'm really not a landlord, is how I say it, because I'm a retailer. So that's the story I want to share with you. We write 30-year plans. So that's what I want to share with you, our 30-year plan for the Village Square Mall. Okay. Stuck. So I want to share a bit about the vision. So you can put up that whole, I don't want to bore everybody to death. So how we looked at it when we bought the mall, and I'll tell you a story how we got the mall, because that's actually just a good story. So we write the vision plan that we're really in the business of helping tenants. Because without tenants and without the community succeeding, that mall means we're dead in the water. So we basically try and work with our tenants. We invest in our facilities, And we really do a lot of work with our people. Like I said, I'm the only landlord, I think, that's ever written 4 business plans for tenants. But I have my master's degree from the Ivy School of Business, so that's one of the things that I can do. Because if our tenants succeed, we're retailers, then we all succeed. Okay? So one of the parts that we believe very strongly, and I've created 4 foundations in the town of St. Mary's, in addition to owning probably 15 businesses in that community, we felt the same way about Penetang. And I know that's hard for you to believe, someone coming from out of town, but as soon as we fell in love with this mall, we knew that if we actually believed in this community, we could make this a destination of choice. And I'll explain to you what I mean about the destination of choice, because we all know what the problem we had when I first bought the mall is. Midland is the big brother, and we're the little guy where nobody wants to open up a retail outlet. And I will share you some of the stories that I've been through since we bought the mall in 2003. Our future is, though, we got to build traffic. That's the only way we survive. If we can build traffic in our community and in our mall, then we all win, including the downtown, including the community, because our assessments go up, our businesses succeeds. So now we're going to go back in time, because that's the vision that we have for this business. Now we're going to go back in time, and I'm going to explain to you how I ended up owning the Village Square Mall. Oh, I did have one more. Sorry. Yeah, so we really want to work with our residents. We have to attract people to this community because it leads to industry, it leads to a whole bunch of great stuff that we all need. And without that kind of 30-year vision, we all know what's happening in every other small town in Ontario. I know you guys know. St. Mary's, we have 28 empty stores. And I just wrote the vision of how we're going to get out of it. And it's not going to take, it's going to take 20 years to get out of it. All small towns are having the same problem. The good news about the mall is, okay, sorry. I'm going to keep you busy. So the Jerry Light story is kind of cool. So what had happened was I owned supermarkets. We were voted but we were totally independent. We were voted the top independent supermarket in 1996. We had 3 stores, totally independent, not franchised. And the guy who gave us our gold medal, nobody other than Donovan Bailey, who had just won his gold medal in Atlanta. So we are come from supermarkets. But I had written a 30-year vision and said, that's going to be a tough industry for an independent. We won't survive. So I sold our business at the peak of its business in November of 2000 to Loblaw. And since then, and before then, I had already started other businesses, including golf courses, including, well, there's just a lot of them. So I went back to do my master's degree at the age of 45. My wife thinks I went back to actually play hockey, because I'm a nut hockey player and hockey fan. I will show you my jacket when we're done. So she kids about that. But I went back because I really didn't know what to do with my future. So when I was doing my master's degree, right near the end, I got a call from a Mr. Jerry Light, who I'd never met. And he said, I heard you in supermarkets. I heard you sold yours. I need some help. I've heard that you do reach out and help people, and you will help me. And I said, of course I will. So I drove up to Penetang. We have a cottage, actually, in Bella. And I met Jerry, and he said, here's my issue. I've been trying to sell this mall for 7 years. 7 years I've been trying to sell. I've had it listed in Toronto. I've even had it internationally listed, and I can't sell it. And so I need you to help me. And I know you've sold your business to Loblaw, so I need help. And so I did the research. We spent 8 months working together on this project, and we became, I'm going to be honest with you, we actually became very good friends, even though I always kid him about he was way older than me. The problem we had was the power centers were all located in Midland. The stores were getting bigger and better. And we've all seen what the Supercenter was one of those examples. Franchised operators, and I'll explain some of that to you, franchised operations like Dollarama and Dollar Tree, even some of the supermarkets. They do not want to be in Penetang. And I spent 13 years on this now, so I can share with you hundreds of stories of why. They want to be in Midland. So an example of that is I reached out to Dollar Tree and Dollarama to try and get them into Penetang. They now have 2 stores each in Midland. So now they have 4 stores there. When I wrote a business plan saying how much dollars they could do if they actually located in our town, I could not get them to come. That's a problem Jerry was having. His costs were going up because it costs you a lot of money to keep the parking lot clean. It was a big mall. For a town like this, it's a big mall. So anyway, after 8 months, I figured out a way we could put on the market. I thought it would work. And Jerry came to me and said, the only person I want to own this place is you, and I need to help you do it. And I have to admit, that scared the living crap out of me because that's way bigger than anything I had ever done. But he said, here's how I'm going to do. I'm going to help you out with the vendor take-back. You have helped me so much, and that's how I ended up owning the Village Square Mall, because I wrote the business plan and I met this wonderful man. I also, when I wrote the business plan, knew that it was going to take a lot of work. So here's the work that we've done since we took over in 2003. Oh, by the way, twice I've almost lost this mall, our family. And when I lose this, if I lose this mall, I lose everything. Like when you're an entrepreneur, it's not, oh, gee, you have 3 or 4 businesses. You have something this big, you lose it all. In 2008, during the economic crisis, no one wanted a second mortgage. We had owned the mall for 5 years. And I mean, no bank in Canada wanted to finance a mall in Penetanguishene, Ontario. That was the scariest 3 to 6 months of my life. We were able to get through it. So I'm not here to do the pity me's, because I'm not. Entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We gamble everything we have, hoping it works, believing in our plan. So we did get through that. And it was really through my relationship with RBC, finally pulled through at the very top of the company, because I had been turned down 4 times. So the next part of the story that's kind of cool was in 2010, one of the biggest problems I knew we were going to have was the area where the 12 to 14 stores were, the little stores that small towns are losing everywhere. So in 2010, we lost all but 2, PharmaSave and one other, were the only ones left on the inside of the mall. Now, as a landowner, does that not keep you up at night? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I rewrote the business plan and said the only way we can save this community and save this mall is we have to build anchor stores. So we invested another $1 million, our family, and rebuilt that entire mall to build anchors. And why did we do it? Because I still believe in this community. Our market draw is huge. Everybody has to come by us to go to Midland. Everybody. That's 20,000 people that we have an opportunity to get to shop locally. But it's really up to us. And I knew that, and I said, I need to fix this, because if we don't get them to stop in Penetanguishene, we know where they're going. And that's jobs, that's assessment, that's everything. And the other thing was, we all know, in the summer, this is paradise. This is paradise. So there's 40,000 people that we need to keep in town. But how do you do that? Yeah, we have a great grocery store. You've all seen it. He built that from zip. And that's why I have to admit I fell in love with the guy, because he started with nothing and built this amazing grocery store. So we have to keep him in town. So, sorry, I'll keep it there. So what I did is I wrote the business plan for PharmaSave and for Home Hardware. I presented it to both head offices, and this is what I built it on. This is actually the Home Hardware model that came back to me that said all my numbers were right. So this is the model where it says there are 20,000 people that we can keep in this community if we do our job and we do the right thing. So that's how I knew that if we could actually fix them all, then we could help our community, we could save our investment, and everybody wins. So in order to do that, I had to write the 2 business plans and get 2 more anchor tenants, which, as you guys know the story. I will go to the next one. But in order to do that, here's how we had to blow up the mall. As you can see, there was that little hallway that many of you can remember with the 12 to 14 little stores. They were not going to survive. Just like in our downtown St. Mary's, the little stores are toast, and downtown, that's what we're all in a fight for, is how do we keep downtowns? So by keeping these 2, so we converted them into anchor stores. That's how we did it. There's the drawing. We went in front of council. We did a site plan on it. We invested $1 million, and I will share with you some of the numbers I can share with you on the success of this demolling. Most of you that grew up here knew that the Home Hardware was downtown. And that's who I first asked if they would like to move up. And Home Hardware also was involved, and they said, of course, it only makes sense. That store was doing $481,000 in a year. Since we've demalled and put in Kate's store, and I did ask her, she is a partner of mine, I did ask her, we're going to probably do 1.6 to 1.7 million in that store that was created in our mall. Now, where was all that going? We all know, right? It was all going to Midland, to the Canadian Tire. It was going to the Home Hardwares in that community. So what we did is we created an anchor. And I could share the story of PharmaSave with you, but I'll leave that to anyone who knows Sean. Go up and talk to Sean, because he says that saved his business. So what we did is we created anchor stores. So you're going to wonder what I'm leading to, and I'm getting there soon. Yeah, we can skip that part. You all know what it looks like. So yes, we did a site plan. So we have one entrance into to our biggest tenant, which is Foodland, which is the one that made it into the newspaper in the article. We have that one entrance that preserves and saves this mall. And it was in the paper that we're being asked to change that so that we have people turn right to go to Midland. So yeah, we'll talk about that later. But this site plan was the one that was approved in 2011 to save us and to give us those anchor stores that have saved this mall. So we did that in 2011, and now I'm going to share with you, and this we wanted to share with you, we shared it with your staff this afternoon, is we've also created another idea, because that's what entrepreneurs do. We come up with ideas because we're fighting for our lives. That's how we came up with the idea for Home Hardware and for PharmaSave. Our newest concept is, oh, sorry. I should have brought up my sheet. Yeah, we'll keep going on this. Where are we at? Okay, we've already gone through all this, so we're going to skip it.
So, Rob, you're a little bit over, so I'll give you about 3 more. Our deputations are 10, so we're a little long, so maybe you can wrap it up in about 3 would be great.
Here's our newest concept that we shared with your staff. So we've taken the one big empty space we have left, which is the former Remax, that we have not been able to rent. It's been empty for 8 years. We have created the first, in our area, Business and Cultural Center, which is a co-working office space. We shared it with your staff today. It's the biggest and healthiest new opportunity that I've seen. And I will admit, I stole this idea from Stratford, Ontario and London, Ontario. But we will have the coolest spot, and I'll do it briefly. So let's see where we're at. So this is what it's going to look like. So there will be 7 individual offices plus co-working office space. Did you press that? So in that middle part, there's a co-working where you can rent it for a day. You could have an office for a day. You could have an office for a month. You could have an office for a year. What the opportunity is this. It's co-working office space for Penetang. It's an engaging, affordable opportunity for non-local presence. So this is going to be artists, creative people, website designers. This is where they can get out of their homes and open up a new business. This concept has exploded in Stratford and other areas, and we're going to bring it into Penetang. We actually talked to Betty today, and she said, and Andrea, And both of them said, this is what we saw in New Zealand, that it's exploding down there. So, creativity loves company. We are now the power center. We became the power center to a $19,000 draw. And how we did it was through, and I'll tell you, it was a lot of work because everybody wants to be in Midland. But we've done that, so we're here to ask the biggest question that I've ever asked the council, is what keeps us up at night? We've got to protect our tenants. We've got to protect our community and our employment and our taxes and our investment. That's why we're here. That's why we're lucky enough to be here. We have to protect our cash flow because this is by far our biggest investment, and we have to keep people from going to power centers in Midland. We also did meet with Brian a couple times, and we have offered to work with the town on the Edward Street just to expand that whole concept of making this a power center. And we'll share with that, Brian can share that with you. It's really about drawing traffic. So when we found out in the paper last week that our entrance might be changed, here's my biggest question. I actually teach at the Ivy Bis School, and I teach young kids entrepreneurship. The question I always ask my students is, you got to ask yourself why. That's all you have to do. Ask why. So what I would like to do, and this, then I'll be done actually, is why would we change the entrance? Why? You know, I read in the paper that it might it slows down traffic, and I'm thinking, we're a power center. We've created all this traffic. We've created something for our community. So I don't understand that, and I also want to do is know why. That's all, just why. Let's figure out why. So then the one that really got me was, we want a right-hand turn. And I'm thinking, wow, I've been in retail my whole life. I mean, I grew up in retail from the time I was 13. And so if I turn right out of the Penetang Village Square Mall, can anybody in the room tell me where you end up going? Just off the top of your head? You go to Midland. So you don't go downtown Penetang. And I have to admit, if I was teaching that at this school, I would get laughed out of my classroom. You wouldn't turn people right to go out of your town to shop. So I think we're almost done. So retailers like Sobeys and our family, we're just protecting our business. We aren't, this isn't about being tough. This is really just about protecting our business. So we're just asking why.
All right, thank you for your presentation, Rob. Any questions for Rob? Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks, Rob, for the presentation tonight.
Thanks.
I think there's been lots of dialogue on this, and the one thing I'm struck with, where I'm confused, is you've referenced the newspaper article a couple times, and it seems like we're now having a conflict through the newspaper, which is a bad way to have a conversation. About 2 meetings ago, the mayor brought a motion forward which asked that the mayor, myself, and Councillor Rose sit down and have a conversation. And this was done an open session like here tonight, and we asked to have a conversation, how can we make this work together? And it came back from your party that you don't want to have dialogue. So when that came to this table, that there's no openness to have conversation, we can only make decisions based on that information. So tonight's not the forum for debate. We heard your thing, and we'll debate this later. But we've already tried to have dialogue, and the door was closed. So
Yeah.
I wanted to echo that, because you're
No, that's
referencing the
good.
newspaper, and it's a one-sided story.
No, that's a great conversation. That's why I haven't reached out to the newspaper. The question that came to us wasn't an open dialogue on Main Street construction, because we've been talking with Brian since 2014. I will admit, I was in my cycling accident in 2013, and my 2013 to 2015, and I told Brian this at the one meeting, I wasn't quite there. But we've always been open for discussion. The discussion that we said we weren't open to was putting the right turn lane in. We've actually talked about all Main Street. We were the ones that came up with the idea of looking at Edward Street. That was our concept, because we bought a house down there and we thought, hey, there's a set of lights there. why don't we talk to town council about the Edward Street? So I'm not sure about the dialogue thing, and I will apologize if that's the way council feels, because that's why I'm here today. We run businesses with dialogue. I wrote the 30-year plan for the town of St. Mary's, because I believe in community. So if that's the dialogue you want to talk about Main Street, it's not open for discussion that we put in a right turn lane. That's all we're saying. Let's discuss everything else. Okay?
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Moving on to agenda item number 7. It's moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the following minutes of the council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. Special council minutes dated June 8th, 2016. Council minutes dated June 8th, 2016. Committee of the Whole Report 2016-11, see agenda number 10 below, dated June 8th, 2016, and Special Council minutes dated June 15th, 2016. Any comments, errors, or omissions noted in any of those minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote to approve them. All in favor? And those minutes are approved. Agenda item number 8, consent agendas, which we have none tonight. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have 9E, moved by Councillor Leroux, seconded by Councillor Mayott, that the council receives the report for information and discussion, and the staff be directed to apply for 33.3% funding through Canada 150 Community Infrastructure Program to replace the Penetanguishene Memorial Community Centre roof membrane. Councillor Leroux, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Government of Canada committed $150 million over 2 years to upgrade, improve, and expand existing community and cultural infrastructure as part of the celebration of the 150 years of Confederation in 2017. And we feel that we could qualify for 33.3% funding, and it could be used to re-roof our Memorial Community Center. So section is definitely asking council to move forward with this.
Thank you very much. Councillor, any questions for the CEO or Councillor Leroux on this one? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to agenda item number 10, which is presentation and consideration of reports from Committee of the Wholes. And we have 4 of them in front of us. The first one's Recreation and Cultural Services section, moved by Councillor Leroux, seconded by Councillor Mayott. The recommendations contained within Committee of the Whole Report 2016-11 of June 8th, 2016, related to Recreation Community Centers, Community Services section be approved. Any member of council wish to pull any of these particular items? Councillor Rawson, please.
Thanks, Worship. Item 9B1, which was the urban slide.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got that pulled. Any other ones to be pulled out of this section? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote to approve the rest. And that is carried. Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. I brought this last time, and I'm going to bring it up again. I still feel, and I've heard from lots of people from last meeting, that Main Street's not the right venue. A lot of people, especially at the splash pad in the weekend, asked why it's not going down Owen Street. So I'm hearing from lots of people that the Main Street's not where it should be. I'm going to reiterate, I would agree. Last time we met and we discussed this, the agreement was not signed. So from my perspective, it's still in our purview. I think we all feel that's the right thing. Deep down, I think that's what we think's right. I'm not saying let's don't do it, but I think we really need to think what is the right thing. And I'm further going to ask if the CEO may know, what would be traffic to the town dock? Because that's Civic Day weekend, so it's a holiday weekend. So what's the traffic to our town dock, and how many boats would launch using our launching ramp on that typical weekend? And what's our lost revenue by shutting down the main street for 24 hours on a long weekend for that weekend? So I'd like to find out if CEO may know, and I'd like to amend that motion to move that to Owen Street.
So, Jeff, you've been here all about 2.5 weeks. What's your thoughts on traffic to the dock? Yeah, and if you got some stats to pull, it would be great.
Through you, Your Worship, perhaps I'll defer the question about numbers and revenue to the Treasurer, Carrie. I think she's probably very well versed in that, and she could speak to it better than I can.
So, Carrie, over to you, please. Do you have any numbers that you can share quickly? Or
Thank you, yes. We did look at the 2015 historical financial transactions for the wharf. I don't believe that the staff down at the wharf are keeping total overall stats in terms of usage. So we could only analyze through financial transactions and the deposits that went on from the wharf. So in terms of the Friday through Monday Civic Long Weekend, it was about $1,400 in revenue strictly from the daily people that were using the launch ramp and the parking, which it was an estimate of about 40 users. But that would not include, because we don't have statistics, seasons pass holders or those that actually dock their boat in a slip down there. Unfortunately, we could only look at the ones that were paying on those days.
Thank you very much for that. Any other comments on this particular item? So is anybody looking to second the amendment to move this over to Owen Street? Councillor Mayat. Conversation, debate on moving it to Owen Street. I would suggest that we want to get some legal advice on this very quickly. The fact of the matter is we're way deep into this conversation with this Happy Paddling group, and we have a contractual obligation, whether it's signed or not at this point in time. So there's a verbal contract, there's the intention. This has been on Facebook, there's been advertisement, we've sold tickets in advance, on and on and on it goes. This is a volatile and high-risk area, in my opinion. Jeff, any thoughts on the legalities here? Have you had a chance to talk to somebody?
Through you, Your Worship, thank you. So I did have a chance to quickly chat with our solicitor. The fact of the matter is the letter of intent has not been signed. With that being said, I would suggest that an agreement, verbal, certainly not written, but a verbal agreement has been made for the main street. My suggestion to council, to protect the best interest of the town and from a risk management perspective, would be to maintain the intent of what the agreement is in place today, but should council wish to review year 2 and or year 3, that be something council entertain in future years. I think, one could ask, and certainly in discussions with 365 Sports, I believe their response is that they operate on main streets, and that's all they're generally essentially acting on. I recognize it is a sensitive topic for council, but again, my suggestion to council would be to maintain status quo for this year, but certainly well within council's ability and perhaps an opportunity to review year 2 and or year 3.
Thank you for that. Other comments, questions on the amendment in front of us? Councillor Leroux.
Your Worship, I do realize that we had a verbal agreement on this issue, and again, the fact that it's there. It was very disappointing in the fact that council did not have an opportunity to discuss this matter prior to it being approved. The way in which we found out about it was very disheartening, and realizing full well that commitment is a commitment. However, as far as year 2 and 3 are concerned, they're not a done deal and won't be until we review it.
Comments, questions? Seeing none, so the motion as amended is to move the event to Owen Street. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? That motion is defeated. We're back to the main motion. I'll look for a mover and seconder that the road closure of Main Street from north of Point Street to north of Brock Street be approved for a 24-hour period from Saturday, July 30th at noon until Sunday, July 21st at 12 a.m. for the Urban Slide event. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lauder, Deputy Mayor. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay. So that's that one. Moving on to planning and community development services. So moved by Councillor Levy, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole Report 2016-11 of June 8th, 2016, related to planning and development services section be approved. Does any member of council wish to pull any of these items for final debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. Agenda item 10A, moved by Councillor, you guys have similar, who moved this one? Doug or Dan? I think it was Doug. So moved by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor LaRose that the recommendations contained within Committee of the Whole Report 2016-11 of June 8th, 2016, related to Transportation Environmental Services section be approved. Does any member of council wish to pull any of these items? Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. 7B6, the bus identification, I'd like to pull for dialogue.
Okay, thank you very much. 7B6 is pulled. Anybody else wish to pull any of the remaining items? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote on the balance. All in favor? That is carried. Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. Last meeting, we had a long meeting, went till 11 or later. One of the motions that came forward is about the bus identification program, and we deferred that back to staff to dig into that a little bit more. And I was just hoping that we could have a little bit of dialogue now and give some clarity to that. Several weeks ago, we brought it up that we wanted the youth council to look at options for the bus wrap and to bring it back, and they would kind of drive that look and feel the bus. And then the last meeting, we kind of created a subcommittee for the taxi bylaw and the sign bylaw. And what I got from our last meeting is we want to create another subcommittee to relook at the subcommittee's work on the wrap of the bus. I think we've already done that work. So it seems to me we're just recreating more work again when the work's been done. So I think with fairness to the clerk, I think we pass it to the clerk to create more work, is what is it we want. And I think there's two things in that report. One was there seemed to be a little more of a spend on the wrap amount. Are we comfortable with that or are we not? And are we happy with that image? I think there's been a lot of work done on that imagery. I think we can give a little more clarity than just refer back to staff. So from my perspective, I think the budget line, I'm not solely convinced and comfortable with the increased amount that was expected for the bus wrap. So I think we could give clarity on that. And I think there's a couple things that I didn't think about and we can think about was not there. I know from the museum's perspective, we don't, a huge historical resemblance of the town. There's nothing to resemble the museum on that wrap. So I was just hopeful we could discuss that a little bit further and give some more clarity as opposed to creating a new subcommittee and give some real clarity on this decision. So I think it was, what is the bus going to look like? And are we comfortable with that spend amount? 'Cause I don't think we gave a bunch more work and go back and figure out more.
I guess maybe I'll ask Stacy. So, I always saw this as the work of the Transit Committee, and you'd bring in those people to help that Transit Committee work with this. But Councillor Rawson's point is from a staff perspective, are you clear in direction and comfortable with the direction you're going, or are you looking for more guidance from council than received to date?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Rawson. I think Councillor Rawson makes a good point. The Transit Committee, I think we did discuss at our last meeting. Again, it was a very long meeting, so I know it didn't necessarily get the conversation, but there was a comment about possibly bringing it to the Transit Committee, which is a possibility. However, 50% of that committee is actually Midland staff, council, and public, so not necessarily somebody who's necessarily looking into what our bus is going to look like necessarily. So we did speak to the Youth Council. I actually appreciate some further clarification in terms of going back to whoever it is, whether that be an ad hoc committee that consists of town representatives, Youth Council, however that be. And Councillor Rawson also raises a good point that, in fact, the museum is not represented. And we did focus specifically on the Youth Council in terms of what they wanted to see, and that just wasn't something that they mentioned. It certainly doesn't mean it's something they wouldn't want to see, but it isn't something they mentioned. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly what more clarification to ask for at this point.
Challenge is beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So 9 of us here can look at 9 different bus wraps and have 9 different opinions of it, and we saw that when we did the statues and the artwork around the park, right? So is a possibility for Stacy you to come back with your group, and I'd say, when I say Transit Committee, I assumed it would be members from Penetanguishene, not from Midland on there, to give us like 2 or 3 versions of that with some budgetary stuff. I agree with Doug that we need to figure out the dollar amount, but I don't want to I never send an artist away going, well, you got $3,000, get back to me, going, hang on here, get back to me with your best opinion and tell me what the costs are, and then we can decide whether we can afford to tweak that. So again, I'm just looking to make your life easy. I don't think Doug's trying to complicate it, but I think it's, art is complicated in terms of it's always opinions, it's subjective, it's not much more concrete.
I think Deputy Mayor and I had a brief conversation about that. I'm going to be in the light again tonight, it looks like. We had a brief conversation about the number of things we were trying to represent on the bus, and that there were quite a few, and that not only created potentially a lot of imagery that maybe didn't go together, even though we have a lot of faith in the artists that we've asked, but also really increased the budget, which is what was represented in that report. So I think that if council was comfortable coming up to an amount that they were willing to spend, I think that might actually solve a lot of the issues for me. And then we can work with the artist to really bring that down. As you'll see in the report, we did have some partnerships included in that, which was Discovery Harbor's side of the attraction. But if I was given sort of a budget to stay within, I could come back with a clearer representation with that amount.
Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, in conversation, I felt what was submitted was great, but it's a lot. And I think we need to look at it and perhaps come up with another plan. And I certainly would be willing to sit with you, Stacy, and maybe do 2 or 3 renderings and bring them back to council for final approval. I don't have the report right in front of me. Stacy, could you share with us the dollar figure? Or perhaps Councillor Rawson has it up on his screen.
Do you have
and
the
he
number, Doug?
knows.
Oh, Stace, please, if you can grab it.
I actually don't have it in front of me. If you give me a moment, I do remember off the top of my head, it was approximately $4,300, but we did reduce that by, I think it was $1,500 for Discovery Harbor and $400 for the Serendipity. And then again, like I said, we could remove elements to bring it down significantly as we go, because it really is jam-packed with a lot of beautiful imagery.
But a lot.
A lot.
Councillor Rawson, please. Oh, sorry, Anita.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to make a suggestion that perhaps if council felt comfortable with a dollar figure of $2,500 that we could work with. It's just a suggestion, or I...
Yeah, so our contribution to 25
Yes.
and funding over and above that. Councillor Rawson, is that?
Yeah, so I'll echo the Deputy Mayor. I know one of the comments I was going to state last week was the budget amount increased, and that was one of the reservations from my perspective, and the more we're getting, the bigger the spend is becoming, so I think it'd be easier to come up with our ceiling limit, and then we can see what their artistic impression looks like from there.
So looking for a motion here then, Stacy, so that you'd be directed to a dollar amount of 2,500. We've pulled it, so I've got to put a motion back in.
Yeah, that would be great if the direction, I mean, it has been referred back to staff, so I think if you wanted to amend the motion, you don't need to at this point. If you want to continue to refer it back to staff, I have the direction that I need moving forward, and I can come back with a report at the next meeting with hopefully some ideas equaling under $2,500.
Sure. All right, no, that's fine then, so we'll just refer back to staff. So mover to refer it back to staff be Councillor Rawson, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Moving on to the final one, which is Section 10, Finance and Corporate Services, moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that the recommendations contained within Committee of the Whole Report 2016-11 of June 8th, 2016, related to Finance and Corporate Services section be approved. Does Council wish to pull any of these items? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to agenda item number 11, presentations and considerations of report from special committees. We have none. Notices of motion, we do have one. Oh, here it is. It's in blue. That's why it's supposed to be in white. Found it. So it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rawson. Whereas additional information regarding the construction of Thompson Road extension has been provided by the Director of Public Works related to cost and timing related to the 2017 Main Street reconstruction project, that the motion of a special council meeting of April 1, 2015 being that the Thompson Road extension be designed and constructed prior to the construction taking place on the section of Main Street from Thompson Road to Robert Street be reconsidered at the council meeting of June 22nd, 2016. And so I'll open this up and maybe turn it over to the floor. So where this came from is we, as a council, way back in April 2015, said we'd actually extend Thompson's Road in first before we actually started construction in Main Street. When we started to recognize that intersection, we started to recognize some of the development charges, and we recognized that we were going to do the Main Street all in 1 year. That actually became, the fact of the matter is we weren't going to do the Thompson Road extension ahead of Main Street, so we had a motion in front of us that needs to be reconsidered for us to actually change that course of action so that we can do Main Street first and Thompson Road second. So that's why we need this motion to reconsider. So a motion to reconsider needs 2/3, and I don't think it's a debatable topic, Stacey. I just go right to the vote. Okay. So I'm looking for 2/3 majority to reconsider. So the previous decision of council was we'd build Thompson's Road first before we actually started construction on Main Street. What I'm asking council to reconsider that motion. Stace?
Sorry, just to clarify, discussion of the previous decision shall not be in order until the motion to reconsider has been adopted. So,
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so for us to even reconsider it, I need 6 hands up in the air. Yeah, okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Okay, and so that motion to reconsider is in place. So Stacey, I'll look to you next for guidance in terms of putting a motion on the floor, what it is we need to be doing at this point. I believe the motion on the floor would be that Main Street be constructed ahead of Thompson Road. In its simplest form, that's kind of the verbiage that we're looking for, Stacey. Yeah, I think because we're reversing one down, I'm with you. So I think what's happening here, though, is we said we're going to do Thompson and then Main, and now we're saying we're going to do Main and Thompson will follow. So I think we just need a motion that actually directs staff to execute that.
I'll just need a moment.
No problem. Sure, yes, you can. Councillor Saunders, please.
Did I hear you say, Your Worship, that this was not going to be discussed after we get clarity on this issue?
Oh, no, I'm getting a motion forward for discussion to get it onto the floor. Councillor Saunders?
Thank you.
Yep. Mine was easy. Brian, while we're waiting for that motion to come up, maybe you can give us some background on Thompson's Road and how we arrived where we are and where we'll head next, so that might provide some information to council while the motion's getting crafted.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess the purpose of the motion that's being brought forward tonight is based upon the fact that we are still in the initial stages of the Thompson's Road project, and given the schedule for our Main Street reconstruction project being 2017, the scheduling itself will not work with the Thompson's Road being constructed before Main Street. In addition to that, the development charge funds required for the construction of this extension we just simply do not have enough at this point to initiate the project right now. So the feeling from staff is that once the second and the third phases of the Harbor Point subdivision are underway, bringing in the development charge fees associated with that to bolster our existing funds. At that point, we would have the funds associated with the development charges to initiate the project.
Thank you very much. Stacey, you've got a motion crafted?
Yes, we do. The new motion would read that the reconstruction of Main Street from Thompson Road to Robert Street be completed prior to the Thompson Road extension design and construction.
Just one more time, Stacy, please.
That the reconstruction of Main Street from Thompson Road to Robert Street be completed prior to the Thompson's Road extension design and construction.
Yep, thank you. Move and seconder for that, then? I'll certainly move it. Looking for a seconder here. Councillor Rawson, okay. And Councillor Saunders had comments, so we have a motion on the floor? Nope. Okay. Okay, all right. Comments on this particular item? Seeing none, and I'll call for Councillor Lauder, please.
Thank you, Worship. I guess there's a lot of discussion. I've immediately got three questions in mind. The first one, all directed to our director. Our first one, what has really changed, other than the development charges? That is a big issue. But you're originally planning on doing the Thompson Road extension when we had a 2016-2017 development of Main Street. Now that we've pushed it into the 1 year, what has really changed? I don't want you to answer that, Jess, because I want to develop a little more of this question. All along, we've been thinking of starting down at back of the north and working southward, so then the Thompson Road was going to be the last issue in our construction. So once again, with that in mind, we're still at the same concept of Thompson Road with the original plan. Were we going, because we've never discussed Thompson Road, and that's been a shortcoming that has been brought up several times in council. But was the original plan that we were going to start Main Street from the north to the south, and at the same time be doing Thompson Road, so that we were going to have it done first, and finally, was that the original plan? And then finally, even now, the motion is that the design and the construction be after, which leads me into a little confusion, because if we don't have the design of Thompson Road extension, then we're going to have a tough time with the actual intersection and the Main Street construction. So unfortunately, I'm to a point whereby I'm feeling the whole thing has really been left very, very late, and the Thompson Road has been just shelved, although it's been brought up several times. It's just been shelved, and now we're in a really precarious situation, whereby, you know, this is a last ditch, this is the only thing we can do, and we're being forced to consider this option at this point.
Brian,
so it's a
Brian,
very general,
please.
if you could comment.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Lauder. Yeah, the initial intention was to do the Thompson's Road extension prior to the Main Street reconstruction. That was the initial intent. Through the process that we've gone through with the Thompson's Road extension project, it's been an ongoing project. Right now, the initial stages, being the land acquisition phase of the project, have gone on very long in terms of getting that completed. So that was the major reason for having this delayed after Main Street. The Thompson's Road extension project is not required as part of the Main Street redesign. We have enough information to actually do the stub connection, so that we can do the connections once the Thompson's Road extension is go for construction. So it wouldn't hinder our Main Street reconstruction at all. In fact, we would be installing service stub connections as part of the Main Street redesign project. And I believe the initial intention was to have the Thompson's Road. It certainly wasn't my recommendation, but I think the feeling from some members of the council, or the previous council, was that the Thompson's Road extension would act as a bypass for the Main Street reconstruction project, which in my mind is not required.
Thank you, Brian. Any other final comments for a call for vote? Councillor Levy?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that former council did have much discussion about this, Councillor Lauder, and the thought was, and my opinion remains to this day, that it was a vital detour route to both the subdivision, the west end of town, and that it will certainly ease the way of the Main Street reconstruction. So that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you very much. Any final comments for a call for the vote?
I'd like a recorded vote, please.
Sure, absolutely. Stacy, we're looking for a recorded vote on this item. And it's called by Councillor Levy, please. one subsequent. I'll give you one.
Yes, thank you. If we were to have a Main Street, Thompson Road extension, what distance would the road, would it simply connect to the road, fully connect to the road that's, the partial road that's down there right now?
Through your worship to Councillor Aller, that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, no problem. So if you could read the motion one more time, Stacy, please.
The motion requested for recorded vote that the reconstruction of Main Street from Thompson's Road to Robert Street be completed prior to the Thompson Road extension design and construction. Recorded vote called by Councillor Levy. Councillor Levy.
Read that one more time for me.
The motion?
Mhm.
Okay. That the reconstruction of Main Street from Thompson Road to Robert Street be completed prior to the Thompson Road extension design and construction.
Opposed.
Councillor Lawson.
In favor.
Councillor Saunders.
Opposed?
Councillor Mayette.
In favor?
Councillor Lauder.
Opposed?
Councillor Rose.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Dubois.
Opposed?
Councillor Rowe.
Opposed.
Mayor Mushroom.
In favor.
That motion is defeated.
There you go, Brian. So that one's moving on to agenda item. Well, I sort of jumped ahead when there's Stacy. So notice the motions. There was a notice of motion to come forward. So it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Proposed motion to reconsider that as per section 10.6 of the procedural bylaw 2016-08, a portion of the decision of the council at the meeting of October 28, 2015, being that the Main Street reconstruction project have full project completion in 2017, be reconsidered at the meeting of council on July 13, 2016. And that'll come up for conversation and debate at that time. And just to confirm, I did vote in the majority when this motion was came forward the first time. That's a notice of motion, yes. So it'll come forward on July 13th, Doug? All right, so we're on to 13 we've done, so 14, consideration of bylaws. It's moved by Councillor Levy, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that bylaw 2016-33 and 2016-34 be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. Any comments, questions on this bylaws? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Those are carried. And we'll go on to question period from the media and public. Anything from the media, Elizabeth? We're good there. Any questions from the public on an item on tonight's agenda? Seeing none. Announcements and inquiries. Any announcements? I can make one. Our splash pad was absolutely fantastic. And I went through a jog last night through the park. And now I've got to run through the park to see what's going on, right? And I went through there and it was 7:15. It was jam-packed with people enjoying the waterfront. Sounds of kids giggling, getting wet. And Janice and I stopped by. I think on Saturday afternoon we got an ice cream down at Nixon, took a walk through the park about 6 o'clock Sunday evening. And there was twice as many people, their picnic baskets out. So it was a great thing. So it was nice to see that asset being well utilized. Moving on to 17A, confirmation bylaw, moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. The confirmation bylaw 2016-35 be signed and sealed by the Mayor and Clerk. All in favor? And that is carried. And so we'll recess for about 3 minutes or 4 minutes while Roger switches the tape for Committee of the Wholes.
There's really no choice now, is there? It's got to be done in 2 phases.
Yeah. Ooh, that's all that did. But they haven't made a decision on the intersection's going to look like that, right? Is that not on tonight's agenda, the Main Street Thompson Road intersection?
Yeah, that's just the Thompson's Road and Main Street intersection.
But they haven't made a decision whether it's a roundabout or it's a...
Well, I've been given direction. So, I mean, I went out and got an opinion letter on it and presented it to council for information. So, my recommendation was to not move it. So, do I do a motion that's double negative? So I just throw my hands up in the air sometimes. So.
I gotta...
Yeah, it is chilly here. All righty, council, I'll call us back to order, please. So I'll look for a, yep. Council, yeah, we're... All righty, folks, so I'll call us back to order. So I look for a mover and seconder to approve tonight's agenda. Moved by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor Lauder. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That agenda is approved. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any member of council have pecuniary interest to declare at this point in time? Seeing none, if you find yourself in that spot as we move along, let me know and I'll address it appropriately. Presentations and delegations from all sections. We have two tonight, and the first one's installation of sign at 48 Main Street, and Phil is here to join us today. Phil, welcome, and I'll ask you to go to the podium, and I'll ask Michelle to make sure the green light is on.
It's not going to take very long. I own Phil's Restaurant on 48 Main Street in Penetang, and about 3 weeks ago I installed a sign that basically has information about a local charity called the Villagers, and apparently there was some complaint by somebody in town that I didn't have a permit, and then the bylaw doesn't really define the signage that isn't advertised for my business, that it can be on the building or not. And I'm here to ask for an exception to allow the sign to be on the building until you revisit the bylaw to maybe amend it that it can be there, because this is a local charity. It was established June 25th, 2012, and it basically helps children in the area to participate in sports, gymnastics, hockey, dance classes, yoga, art, music lessons, and there is 100 kids from Penetang that are in this organization. It's 100% non-for-profit, and also Penetang has had a few events to help raise money for the villagers, and I'm also an active volunteer since 2012. Yes. I thought I was, sorry. Okay. Now the mix of children is 58% boys and 42% girls, so it's almost an equal mix. And a lot of the money is coming from outside sources. So in order to help fund this charity, we need awareness from people that it exists, it is local, and by having exposure of the sign, which really doesn't hurt anybody, we should be proud in a community that has a local organization that is keeping 684 kids in programs that they couldn't afford anyways. And a lot of merchants of Penetang have contributed into silent auctions and events to raise money, like Kim's Boutique, myself, that I do 2 pancake breakfasts a year, and 100% of the proceeds do go to the charity. And Le Maitre D will be doing a fundraiser, murder mystery in February, to also help raise money. I do believe that the villagers and Penetang, they're community partners, and trying to create something that will be positive for kids to be able to participate where they otherwise couldn't afford. So I'm asking for consideration to allow the sign to be on the building while you revisit to amend the bylaw.
Thank you very much, Phil. Any questions for Phil on this particular matter? No, so we've got no question. Deputy Mayor, please.
Your Worship, I would just ask when we will be dealing with this. It's not an item on the agenda, but I would like to make a motion if I could.
So I guess, Jeff, when would this come up? And I guess for a motion to be crafted, that might be useful for the Deputy Mayor to know exactly which portions of our bylaw are being offended, if that's the right word, or not. The sign's not in sync with our bylaw, so what are the items that are problematic that needs to, if we do exempt it, that we're considering?
Through you, Chair Marshall, the two main components of the bylaw that essentially that council would need to exempt are twofold, and maybe I should preface this by saying, certainly as staff is very sensitive and certainly sympathetic to the sign and the intent of the sign, but certainly we need to ensure that the the policy or the bylaw is followed. So the two components of the bylaw are the fact that the sign is on the second floor, and the second component is that it's advertising a service not provided on the property. So the process ultimately would be the application should be submitted, and I understand the application, or Phil does have a copy of the application. If he doesn't, certainly we can get it, but I believe there was a copy provided. And then ultimately, the fee would be paid. I believe it's a $100 fee, and the request would come through to FCS and ultimately through to council for approval. And that's in accordance with what the bylaw states today of Section 18 of the bylaw. So that, in terms of how our bylaw reads today, those are the two components, so second story and a service not being provided on the property. And then the bylaw does speak to exemptions or amendments ultimately would come through FCS and ultimately through council for approval.
Stacy?
Further to that, Your Worship, the other consideration is that a building permit is required for this type of sign. So before the building permit can be issued, the exemption needs to be issued. So it's one of those two-step processes that happens. The sign bylaw has to be met in order for the building permit to be issued. The building permit is not something that we can waive. We have no control over the building code. So the best thing we could do, and the only thing we could do, would be potentially to waive, although we do have that provision in place to be done through the proper process.
And the other one, if I could, just for clarification for council, is we obviously asked for the signed bylaw to be brought to council's attention because we have issues with the bylaw in a variety of different topics. So when will that be coming up? So if we were to put an exemption in place, I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is how long would Phil be stuck in limbo waiting for us to make the overall big decision?
Thank you, Your Worship. On the last committee of the whole agenda that we just, or report that we just passed in the past council meeting, that was where the request for the sign bylaw ad hoc committee was requested. So that now that has been ratified, we can move forward with that. I've only received one council member requesting to be on that committee as of yet, but we will be going forward with the public member. Which, of course, Mr. Carpathios could be the public member if he'd like to, as well as a downtown business owner, as well as a member of the public. So we will be going out as soon as tomorrow.
Okay. So, Deputy Mayor, do you have a motion in mind?
Well, I thought I would like to bring a motion forward that we give an exemption at this time. The fact that we are going to be reviewing our sign bylaw very quickly within the next, it'll probably take a month or two before it comes back to council. But I would like to see the sign just stay where it is, I suppose, while we go through this process.
So just to, in case it doesn't take a couple of months, just looking Deputy Mayor here, so I'm not in disagreement with the motion coming forward, maybe exempted to end of December 31st, 2016, and put time stamp, which would give time for the whole sign bylaw to come up with an appropriate process. Does that seem, end of year, seem doable for the sign bylaw, Stace?
Again, are we talking that we would go through the proper process of the sign application, building permit, FCS? FCS would decide to allow this permitted sign through the proper process from a certain date to a certain date? Or are we talking about creating a motion today to not handle any of those processes?
I think the Deputy Mayor is looking for a motion today.
Okay. In which case, council is entitled to create whichever motion they would like. So if that's how it should be crafted, absolutely.
Councillor Levy and then Councillor Saunders.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall. I would just caution that we don't put a time stamp on the exemption, that we just give an overall exemption, simply because the new sign, the updated sign bylaw still may very well not permit signs advertising things that aren't taking place in that building. So I would just caution against that.
Okay, so I've got a mover for an exemption. Do I have a seconder? Okay, seconder, Councillor Saunders. Thank you for that. Okay, questions on the motions that's in front of us. Councillor Rawson, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. We've had lots of discussion about signs and approvals and how we feel about it. We've also had lots and lots of delegations of things we all feel passionate about, and every time someone makes a presentation we feel passionate about, we all say, when's this coming forward? And usually response is the report comes from staff next council meeting through committee, and we talk about it. This is a cart before the horse big time tonight. Like, we're violating every rule we've got that we've done this. We've always, every time a deputation comes forward, it always comes back as a report. So in principle, I support this, but I'm going to defeat it tonight based on that principle. I think we got to get it, come back through our normal process in our channel, come back through a section next time. That doesn't prevent us asking, or CO can ask the bylaw officer not to send the dogs and the wolves and the helicopters down and rip the sign off. We're not asking for that, but let's do the process.
Any other comments before I call for vote? Councillor Saunders?
I agree with Councillor Rawson, and I disagree with him. I think the nature of a sign bylaw is that there are always going to be situations that we cannot anticipate and that we're going to have to deal with on an ad hoc basis. For that reason, I support the exemption tonight, particularly because it's time limited, as you have indicated, and that gives us time to pursue the larger issue while at the same time providing some relief to Phil.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Chair, please. Thank you very much, Stacey.
Just because I heard date, no date. So that the sign at 48 Main Street be exempt from bylaw 2013-86 until December 2017?
I think I heard Councillor Levy did not want a date on that, so I'd look to the mover and seconder.
I would still prefer that there be no date.
Okay.
That just be exempted.
Just exempt.
Until the sign bylaw becomes, the new sign bylaw comes into place then? Comes into the new sign bylaw comes
Then
into
what
effect?
happens if it's not part of the new sign bylaw?
Then we'll have to take it down. But, so I think Stacey, the mover and seconder, are fine with until the new sign bylaw comes into force. So it doesn't have an official date, but it has a...
So that the sign at 48 Main Street be exempt from bylaw 2013-86 until such time as the updated sign bylaw be in place?
I'm looking at my mover and seconder.
That's moved by Deputy Mayor Dubois and
Okay, yeah, that's right too, yes.
seconded
Councillor
by
Saunders said
Councillor
that.
Saunders.
Sorry, yeah, sorry,
That's
Brad.
what I have.
Yep, good. Okay, read that one more time, Stacey, so then we call for the vote. Everybody knows what we're voting on?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dubois, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the sign at 48 Main Street be exempt from bylaw 2013-86 until such time as the updated sign bylaw be in place.
Thank you very much. Final comments, Councillor Rawson?
And I think we're making an emotional thing here tonight. Like, there's no harm in delaying this 2 weeks. I'm just asking for process. So I'm going to defeat this based on our process. We've done this 3 other times for Georgian Village, the last one. So based on that, I'm going to ask for a recorded vote.
You know, we sit as council to make decisions, so we make bylaws, we can waive bylaws, we can change bylaws, and that's why the 9 of us get elected. So it's, as Councillor Saunders says, it's not necessarily, we can dot every I and cross every T in all the paperwork that we put forward. So recorded vote has been requested. Stace, please. Oh, sorry, you can't do that. We're in committee. Oh, yes, we can in committee, though. We can't do it at county council, but we can do it here. Yep. Yes, we can. Recorded vote, Councillor Rawson, please.
Opposed.
No, sorry. Requested by Councillor Rawson. I'm talking to Stace.
Okay, recorded vote for, would you like me to read the motion?
No, I'm good.
Yes? We're good. We're good. Councillor Lawson.
Opposed.
Councillor Rose. Councillor Matt.
For.
Councillor LaRue.
In favor.
Councillor Levy. Councillor Saunders.
In favor.
Councillor Lauder.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Dubois.
In favor.
Mayor Marshall.
In favor.
That motion is carried.
Thank you.
And thanks for your presentation. Moving on to the next item, we have a presentation on the Terry Fox Run Committee, and we have Don Chapman here. So Don, thanks for your patience tonight. We were a little longer than we anticipated, but good news is the Leafs aren't playing, so you didn't miss anything.
I wouldn't miss anything. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me have some of your time and attention tonight. Talk about a very important subject, near and dear to my heart and a lot of other people in this room too, I'm sure. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Terry Fox Foundation at a national level. We did talk about that last year, so I'm going to skim over it quite quickly. We'll talk about what we did here in Midland and area last year, some of the good things that happened, and then a little bit about this year's run and things we've got planned. And then I'll close by just asking for your support. And I've lost my yeah, that would be great.
Joel can grab that.
She was just pressing here. Was here? Yes, we got it. Thank you. And my beautiful assistant tonight is. So just about the run itself, I think you probably know it's 36 years since Terry ran the first one, and I'm always in awe when we talk about him running a marathon every day for 143 days. It just got to set you back in your chair and make you take a deep breath. How did a person with one leg do that? It's just amazing. And then I think what's really amazing is the heritage he's left behind, the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been raised for cancer research in his name since we lost him. It's just amazing. Most important line on this chart is really the last one to me, and I added it this year. 84% of every dollar we raise goes directly to cancer research. And I think, you know, as I've worked with other charities before, and none of them could boast numbers like that. We're just so pleased to be part of something that operates that way. There are two charts on here. I hope you can see them okay. The left-hand side, as I'm facing that, is the dollar chart. And you can see on there we had a trend line of the last 5 years in a row going down in dollar contribution from our Midland and area run into the Fox Foundation. We turned that around last year, and I'm delighted to say we made $65,000 in that day for research, $10,000 increase over the previous year. Feel darn proud about that. We finished 17th. This is another point of pride. 17th in Ontario. Regardless of our population, we were the 17th biggest contributor to the Terry Fox Foundation in Ontario. I think that's just fantastic, a real point of pride. We also got $24,000 from our local schools, even though they were supposed to be on a teacher strike. Again, another great kudo for our teachers around here who said, we're doing it anyway. To the right-hand side is more the participant view. So once again, over the last 5 years, we've been losing participants every year. This year, we made more money. We made 10,000 more, even though we still went down in participants. It is really important that we start raising that participant bar as well. And we're turning all our energies on to really moving that line up. Because what you can see here is those who do participate and contribute are contributing more every year. And that's wonderful, but we can't keep depending on those same people to give more and more. We need more and more people giving. So that's where our energies are going. Things we added last year, I'm not going to take you into excruciating detail here, but we did change the whole route, and we made it an in and out on the Bomb Beach Road. We did it for several reasons. It reduced policing costs, policing staffing, inconveniences to businesses, and it was for safety as well, because as you know, before we were running on Highway 93 and right down to the intersection of Highway 12. It wasn't great to be running on major highways. So we moved it onto the Bomb Beach Road. It was a dazzling success. People running both ways on there, on opposite sides of the road, I might add, did high fives to each other and really encouraging each other. It turned into a party kind of atmosphere. It was just great. It also let us put our water stations in the middle of the road and serve two sides with one water station, and it saved us money as well, which was great. The thing I'm most proud of last year was we added the accessible bus. Midland offered us that, and we took the accessible bus out to our starting line, and we took people with accessibility issues as well as our cancer survivors. We gave them a ride out to the halfway point. We provided chairs for them and cold water, and they could sit there and be part of this and cheer on the people who were running for their lives. So we're going to do that again this year. We did a lot of other things to try and raise money besides the run itself. So a lot of revenue generating programs, and we got some great support from local businesses who shared some revenue with us. And we'll build that again this year as well. We broadcast like crazy last year, and we have to do it again this year. Probably the biggest thing we did, and it was quite a bold move, was we got ourselves a billboard down at 5th and Vinden on that corner for 3 weeks before the run. That board happened to be empty. The company that runs the boards, Out Front Media, had a board that was vacant, high traffic area, and we asked them, could we put a Terry Fox poster up there? We did it, and we did it within a couple of days. It was amazing. And now we've got agreement that they're going to do this again for us this year. So fantastic. And we think that brought us more traffic as well. We did lots of other things through social media, meetings, presentations like this, and we have to just make ourselves extremely visible because there's so many competing charities right now. We have to get high visibility to be top of mind and grab some wallet share. This year, we're going to make it better, more promotion, I've mentioned. We've started planning things much earlier, so there's more activity going on earlier. We're going to have more kids' activities, more live performers. We do have musicians along the way that help keep the runners motivated. We'll be doing that as well. We are looking for a high visibility storefront that we're thinking, either in Midland or Penetang or both, but be right visible with our posters and giving them out and shirts and hats that we sell. We could have higher visibility there, so we're looking into storefronts right now. Okay. We are moving. We moved last year. I mentioned we changed the route last year. We still started it out of Mountain View Mall last year, but we changed the route onto the Balm Beach route. This year, because the Mountain View Mall, where we held it last year, is now a construction zone, and we knew that. We've been working with the new owners in Montreal on this for months. But we are going to move now, and we're going to host the thing out of Perkinsfield Park, where the arena is. So it's moving into being hosted for this year at least into Tiny, and we're going to run backwards the route we had from last year. We'll run along the Balm Beach Road out of the back of Perkinsfield Park towards Midland, and then turn around before you get to the hill from Hell into Midland, and head back to Perkinsfield Park and finish it there. Nice 5K and 10K routes there. We've got a covered area, which we've never had before, which will be great for sun or rain. We've got all the approvals in place. Tiny has now offered us staging, sound system, washrooms. Like they're really jumping in and becoming major partners on this with us. So we're delighted with what we think we can accomplish this year and have a dazzling event with way more money. We've got support from everybody on this that we've talked to so far, so we're going ahead with it. Okay. I'll close kind of on how you can help. Obviously, I don't actually have to ask for your approval because we're not touching your turf this year, but I would sure like your support, and your verbal support, but I'd also like to ask you to participate however you can. If you can feature our promotional materials, anything you've got that's your website, newsletters, anything like that, if you can cover us, that would be terrific. We're using every connection we can for this. We last year held in Tay in particular a Terry Fox Day in Council. The mayor declared a day for Terry Fox, and council all dressed in Terry Fox shirts, the staff all dressed in Terry Fox shirts, and we were the first agenda item for the first 15 minutes. The rest of the day was their normal agenda, but they honored Terry for a half an hour in one special council in that way. If you would consider that, we would support you however we can. I'll leave that with you to think about. We do have a silent auction. We started it last year. It made $1,500, and we put it together on a shoestring. This year, we're going to make a lot more money because we've already started gathering gifts. But again, if you know anyone you can connect us with that might want to contribute, we're looking for things this year that aren't just stuff, but things like a ride on the Keewatin, you know, a family adventure of some kind would be great. And enter a team. If you can, I've said this to lots of audiences now, I don't care if you run, walk, I don't even care if you show up. Really, we're after your money, right? So well, let's get straight. But you can form a team, can give us $65,000 and we'll be delighted. You don't need to run. I'll run for you. But think about that if you would, please. There are, I believe, 2 more slides. This is just the one to try and break your hearts, because Terry said it's got to carry on even without him, and it's up to us. It's not just up to my team, and my team's wonderful, but it's up to us to make this thing go on. We must outrun cancer. And the last page, I think, is that's just a fact page, and you have this presentation, but it's how to get a hold of me if you want to act on any of these things. I would be delighted to work with you, and I will be quiet, and thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Do you have any questions here, folks? Anita?
Not a question, but we would love to have you come to Rotary and make a presentation.
I've done Midland Rotary, and I would be delighted to do Penetang Rotary.
Very good. We'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you,
And
Anita.
although I don't walk, I am involved with your administration. I'm a money counter.
Thank you.
So I am involved and have been for several years. Great cause.
Well, you're going to Perkinsfield Park this year.
Yeah.
Anything else? Questions?
Any other questions, comments?
No, it's a great cause, worthwhile. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
your presentation, but also thank you so much for raising the funds and bringing it to our attention and what you do for the community year over year. I think every one of us knows somebody touched by that damn disease, and we need to fight it and stand tall. So good for you for doing so. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, items of reference. We have none, so we'll move on to section 6A, and it's planning and community development services. And I'll turn the chair over to Councillor Levy, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
I could ask that we could deal with the Recreation and Community Services item, B1. We have people in the audience here this evening. I wonder if the Chair of Recreation and Community Services would consider moving that report up so we could have the discussion.
Council, any objections to moving B1 ahead? Why don't we just move the whole rec ahead, and then I'll turn the chair over to Councillor LaRue. If Councillor Levy, you okay with that? We'll do recreation first. So, okay, we'll go on to, sorry, I lost my spot here. Yeah, just trying to find Doug here on the agenda. Here we go. Yeah, so it's section 8C, so recreation community services, and I'll turn the chair over to Councillor LaRue, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Consent agenda, recommended action that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. 1, Trails Committee minutes dated May 10th, 2016, and 2, Curling Club Committee meetings dated May 4th, 2016. Questions, concerns? None? May I have a mover? Your Worship, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Moving to matters for consideration. Pardon me. A request for expression interest for water-based recreational programming. Recommended action that Council accept the proposal submitted by Happy Paddling to provide water-based recreational programming at Rotary Beach and Rotary Champlain-Wendat Park, and that a fee of $250 be included in the license agreement. And that lost it. Stupid thing. Be included in the license agreement that council directs staff to do whatever necessary, including authorization to staff to sign and enter into a license agreement for a period of 4 months to provide the type of water-based recreational programming as supplied in the proposal by Happy Paddling. Mover, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Levy. And Andrea, maybe you might want to go to the podium because I'm sure you're going to get some questions there. You'll do it from there? Okay. Questions or concerns? Councillor Levy?
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRue. When this came to us before, we did have some questions and concerns, primarily about the storage of the material used by the organization. Perhaps, Andrea, you could clarify what changes have been made to that?
Through you, Councillor LaRue to Councillor Levy. So I did include a summary of the proposal submitted by Happy Paddling. I'll just highlight that their proposal indicated that they would not be requesting or requiring any storage at Rotary Champlain-Wendat Park this year, that each day they would be trailering in and out the equipment needed to offer the program.
Thank you very much. And one more, if I may?
Yes.
The next question is, is it my understanding, I heard something to the effect that these folks have recently become tax-paying property owners in our town. Is that true?
That is correct, Councillor Levy.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Lauder?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two comments. The first one is that the location is indicated, and I'd just like to see the location. The notes actually said the central of the beach, but I'd like to see the location to be either on one side or the other, and probably the east side, closer to the parking lot, would be easier and facilitate more. So I would like to see them on a side of the beach. And the second thing is there is concern expressed with respect to motorized activity that was brought up in council. And first of all, is this water-based activity agreement, is it exclusive? So we're only going to have Happy Paddling, and then they're exclusive for this year, and the agreement actually insinuates that it's going to go on for up to 5 years, but so is it an exclusive agreement?
Through you, Councillor LaRue, to Councillor Lauder. So the recommendation is that it be a trial agreement with Happy Paddling for 4 months. That's in the recommendation, and that would allow for staff the opportunity to review the operations, as well as Happy Paddling to confirm that they wish to pursue continued programming at at the beach or at the park. So that report would follow up, and staff would ask for future direction from council as to whether or not they want to go back out through an RFEOI or if we would do an automatic extension with Happy Paddling itself. I would note too that the REOI went out that it would include all types of programming, and it wasn't limited to non-motorized programming. I think that was a direction from council to do that. And so as a result of that expression of interest, we didn't hear back from any operators, and I believe Mike included in that just a clause saying that he would have concerns if there was another programming opportunity where there was motorized vehicles, given the program that he provides. So right now there is no motorized activity at the beach.
Thank you. And basically I brought that up just to ease your mind and release the fact that there will be no motorized activity, so you have no concerns. That was my purpose. Thank you.
Further questions or concerns? There being none, all in favor? That is carried. Moving on to item 2, a request to waive fee for use of Rotary Champlain-Wendat Park Pavilion and Observation Deck. Recommended action that council approve the waiving of rental fee of $72.95 for the use of Rotary Champlain-Wendat Park Pavilion and Observation Deck for the purpose of holding a wedding reception. Mover, Councillor Rawson. Seconder, Councillor Rose. Questions or concerns? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought council had discussed the fact that there would be a rental fee for the platform. I thought we'd made that it was a 2-hour duration, would be $200 for just the platform.
I'm not aware of that I don't recall. Stacy, do we have something on that?
Thank you, Councillor LaRue. Actually, I just received, thanks to our live streaming, an email from our facilities manager, Renee, giving some clarification. He said the pavilion is $55 plus HST, observation deck is $125 plus HST for 2 hours, and insurance is $10 plus PST. This isn't a topic that I had a lot to do with. This came through the Recreation Department, this request, so I haven't had a lot of experience in what exactly that they're requesting, but we can amend the motion if it's the cost that we need to amend. It's more the request for the waiving based on circumstance.
I don't think we want to amend, so that there is a fee associated as well with the observation deck. Your Worship.
So I did the math. So it looks like the $72.95 is it's half the $125. It's $62.50, $10. So you're up to $72.50. I don't know where the other 45 cents came from, but that's neither here nor there. I guess I'm wondering, why is this coming to us to waive this? We have the fee so that staff just rent things out. So I'm a little confused as to why we're looking at waiving fees here.
Again, I don't have the agenda in front of me. There was no attachment at all, nothing related to it?
I saw the application, but it wasn't clear to me why the request to do that was. Looks like Councilor LaRue, looks like Councilor Rawson might have some
It's
insight.
not clear.
Okay.
Councilor Rawson.
I think it's clear. There's actually a letter supporting the request attached. The facility permit, page 2 is the request. So Jadine's a 9-year-old girl from Penetangee, terminally ill with a rare disease. She's terminal. She's gonna pass away in the near future. She has a bucket list that she wants to achieve. One of them is to have a family wedding on our grounds. And she's asking if we can help her with her bucket list before she dies. Okay. And she's saying, can we please waive the fee? So we're debating that right now, and it's a non-negotiated item. Just, sure. We're in the weeds on this one.
I didn't see that letter.
No, I didn't see that as well. Matter of fact, I've supported Jaden online and through other efforts, so I did not recognize that down there. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Rawson, for bringing that forward.
Yeah.
It changes a lot of things.
So with that clarification, I think I would just call for the vote. All in favor?
You betcha.
Carried.
Oh, is that Rawson being moved? Jeez.
Brings us to referrals to upcoming agenda staff. That the Recreation Community Services section endorsed the following. Oh, here it goes again. Following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff, future agenda, tourism, advertising, print, and online for future consideration, June 22. Investigate advertising company opportunities, recreation asset management plan, parks and facilities, arena benches options for comfort, cycling strategy, and Kerning Club operations review agreement, November 2016. Mover, Councilor Rawson. Seconder, Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried.
Jeff?
If I might, just on the Recreation and Community Services future agenda items, just want to note that we are working diligently through a number of recreation items, so certainly I will keep council and committee apprised of, as we work through some of those, but I would ask committee and council to bear with us as we are tapped out, or we're certainly working extremely hard to work through some of those projects. Thank you.
For that. So we'll move back to planning and development, and I'll turn the chair back over to Councillor Levy, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall, and thank you to my colleague here who's sharing his computer since mine blocked me out. Consent agenda, recommended action that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. Building monthly comparative report dated May 2016. I have a mover for that. Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Rawson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Matters for consideration. Official plan review project draft vision report. Recommended action that the draft vision report dated June 2016 be approved in principle, subject to a refinement during the course of the official plan review project. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. I'll actually maybe turn it over. We have Arthur Graborski here from MMM Group. He's put together a presentation describing the steps involved at coming to a draft vision for our official plan review project. So
thanks, Andrea. My name is Arthur Grabowski. I'm a planner with MMM Group, working with Gregory Bender on the, sorry if you can't hear me, working with Gregory Bender on the official plan review, which some of you probably met during the visioning process. So I'm here basically today to outline the proposed recommendations for the draft vision, as well as the goals and objectives. So next slide. So this is just a brief outline of my presentation here today. Basically, as I mentioned, the purpose of this presentation is to present our draft vision as well as the goals and objectives. And I'll briefly touch on the process as well as the next steps for moving forward with the official plan review. So just a quick comment on the visioning sessions that we've held. There were over 7 vision sessions with community groups and members of the public, as well as a public workshop, which was held on May 5th at Brian Orser Hall, which we've obtained 92 comments throughout this process as part of the visioning exercise, as well as an online questionnaire was posted on the official plan review's official website, sailingforward.ca, and we received 15 responses from that. So overall, the process was significant and I'd say quite successful. Just moving forward. So I'm going to briefly touch on the outcome of the questionnaire as part of the vision exercise. So this is just a brief summary of some of the questions that we've asked in the questionnaire, which was online. So this slide identifies basically it's a ranking exercise of the 3 most important characteristics of Penetanguishene to preserve, enhance, and develop. So just looking at the results here, over a quarter said that protecting the environment, and a quarter also mentioned that transportation were the most important, or ranked the highest rather, in the, by respondents, but also note that good community services and the inclusive community also ranked quite highly as well. Additionally, this question relates to where future growth should be directed within the town of Penetanguishene. So overwhelmingly, respondents indicated that 67% should be located in the downtown serviced area. This question pertains to the restriction of waterfront development, or the further restriction of restricting waterfront development in the official plan. Should it be, I guess, contemplated in the official plan? 53% said yes, and 43%, or 40% said no, rather. Moving forward. And if respondents answered yes, we've also asked in what ways should this be contemplated. So the results were varied in this regard. Just to give you an example here, 26% identified that limiting the removal of natural vegetation was important to recognize in the official plan process. But that's just briefly a summary here. So moving forward. So I'll briefly identify, I guess, what we've heard in the visioning sessions. As I mentioned, we've held these sessions with over 7 community groups and agencies, as well as members of the official plan review steering committee and council itself. So basically, just to briefly summarize what we've heard, Penetanguishene is a small town, and its small town character is key to maintaining that. The environment is vital. Promoting and enhancing the town as an attractive and unique hub for existing new businesses for tourism and settlement is also important. Growth must maintain the unique characteristics of the town. And arts, culture, and heritage are one of the pillars of the community. So moving forward, so I'm going to, I guess, identify the process in which we use these comments throughout the visioning exercise. So as I mentioned, a questionnaire and comments included. There were over 100 of them. So the exercise here was to identify recurring themes, which identified what was important in the town. And just to give you sort of an overview of I guess, what the structure of the vision and what it entails along with the goals and objectives. The vision is the aspirational statement of the official plan and identifies what's important now and in the future. And the goals and objectives help establish land use policy and sort of further initiate the vision itself. So moving forward, these are the recurring key themes we've identified based on our comments that we've received. So the environment, growth, character, culture and heritage, the economy, and community facilities. So these are the themes that we've extracted from the 100+ comments that we've received. And so using these as a guide, we've developed the vision, followed by the goals and objectives. So moving forward, this is our proposed vision as part of the official plan visioning exercise and the official plan review. So I'll read it out to you. Penetanguishene is vibrant, resilient, and welcoming. We are both a destination and a starting point that has distinct character, is rich in culture, and holds dear our history. We cherish our small town charm, treasure our waterfront, and appreciate our lifestyle. Penetanguishene embraces economic growth that is diversified, balanced, and fiscally sustainable. We value robust access to community facilities and programs, the sustainable provision of infrastructure, and environmental conservation. So this is the draft proposed vision which we've extracted from the comments. So moving forward, similarly to the vision, as I've mentioned, the comments were significant in establishing the goals and objectives, and these were maintained to protect and maintain what you have, enhance what you have, or develop what you want or need but do not have. So these are the proposed goals to accompany the vision, and I'll read them out. Conserve the natural environment, encourage balanced and diversified growth, protect and enhance our character, protect and enhance our arts, culture, and heritage resources, encourage a sustainable and balanced economy, ensure robust access to community facilities. So these are the proposed goals, and in order to obtain these aforementioned goals, we've organized them around certain objectives. And so moving on to the next slide, this is much more extensive than the goals themselves. So my purpose here is not to read each and every one of these objectives to accompany the goal, but I'm going to merely, I guess, highlight one or two maybe just as an example, but that doesn't mean it's more important than any other objective on the list, but it's simply just a summary for the purposes of this presentation. So in accompanying the first goal, ensure conserving the natural environment, a sample objective could be evaluating existing natural heritage features and areas to determine aspects that require conservation and enhancement. So that would be N2, and that is the objective, or one of the objectives for the goal there. So moving on to the next one, or the next goal, so that would be one slide over. Encouraging balance and diversified growth. So just looking at G3, that could be develop local policies and increase flexibility to revitalize the downtown. So that's an example of that goal. So moving forward to the third goal and associate objective, protecting and enhancing our character. C2, celebrate the town's local charm, diversified culture, and friendly population. Protect and enhance our arts, culture, and heritage resources. H1 would say for as the objective, enhance the protection of our town's cultural heritage resources. Encourage a sustainable and balanced economy. So E1, just to mention that, work with existing employers to enhance opportunities for partnerships and improve employment. And I think this is the final one, but ensure robust access to community facilities. So F3 would exemplify, enhance access to and activities at the waterfront. So as I've mentioned earlier, the vision, goals, and objectives and help us inform the policy development as we move forward in the official plan review. They sort of set the groundwork and the focus for the policies that we will develop in moving forward with the process. And it also identifies what's important and what needs to be enhanced in the official plan review and in moving forward. So moving on to the final slide, I'm just going to briefly identify the next steps in the official plan review process. So based on the input we received today from members of the committee or members of the public, we'll finalize the visioning report, which is in draft right now. We'll prepare the growth analysis, and we anticipate this will be in summer of 2016, so this will analyze the town's, growth projections. We will be preparing the discussion briefs, which includes a review of the town's background materials, as well as identifies potential proposed policy directions. This will occur maybe late fall, early winter of 2016. And finally, we'll prepare the draft and final official plan, and this is targeted for spring or summer of 2017. So if anyone has any questions from the committee or members of the public, I'd be happy to answer them, and I appreciate you for your time.
Yeah, you've got the ball. So just encouraging news for you and Andrea. So the County Simcoe finally got their official plan through, with the exception of 2 site-specific ones. So it actually can be done. It can be accomplished. So I know it's a long, painful process to get there. So anyways, well done. So I like the interim step. So thank you for the report, and thank you for the information, and thank you for your work.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to stress one concept right away. The goals and objectives that were presented are not in any order. They're not in any order, priority or whatnot. They're all important, and they're all necessary to be considered equally. One minor comment that I would like to bring forth, though, for example, just touching the goals and objectives for the encouraging a sustainable and balanced economy. The read is to work with various levels of government and local businesses to enhance, but I'd also like to add in and special interest groups. And then likewise, a little later on, we say enhance access to local festivities. Festivals, sorry, I can't read.
I can.
To help people bring, but I'd like to also add in there not only festivals, but also events. So just to make it a little bit more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lauder. Next is Councillor Virasan.
So I have quite a few comments. I'm not going to share the same sentiments. I think I see a lot of words, but I don't see a lot of meaning behind it. I think one of the last meetings we had 14 people go to the public consultation. I think tonight you showed there was 92 comments. You know, I look at this as, and I've heard, and we've all talked about this, as a vitally important document. It sets the tone for the future. We need it. Ours is outdated. We went to get a sample, and we got 92 responses, and we got 14 people show up to me. I'm going to say we didn't do a good enough job. A year ago, we had a guy come in with crayons, and we did that idea bombing thing out there that we all thought was wonderful, because the tone was we need to engage better with our public. That's what we took away. So we used crayons and did that stuff out there to say we did a bad job. We got to do the idea bombing out there to re-engage people. We had more people come out to this than did the official plan, and here we are tonight say, let's approve this. We haven't engaged our public, so why are we approving something that we had 14 people show up and 92 people do an online survey? It's bad. I think we're setting the tone for a long time thing, and I'm going to challenge that we didn't do a good enough job to engage people, and that's too premature to say let's approve this in principle, so then you can go find some more stats and come back and rubber stamp this. I look at this as a canned document that's been tweaked to put in Penetanguishing where it's appropriate. We had our council night, and Councillor Saunders said a few things that I thought was fabulous, and I haven't seen it in here. He said, which was the most profound thing, was, I still want us to be here. I don't see anything there about that. He said some stuff about technology, some other stuff, some very profound stuff. One of the key stakeholders, and I'm not seeing this, I think we did a bad job. I'm not saying you didn't try, but we got to try harder. Let's get some more crayons out. Let's go flip charts and do what we did last year with idea bombing. We didn't take those lessons. So I think tonight it's too premature to approve this in principle. Let's go back and re-engage. That was the point of this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rawson. Andrea, relating to what Councillor Rawson is saying, and I was going to ask this question myself, I think this work has been very good on setting the stage with the visioning. However, I had mentioned to Greg at one point that, and it had been discussed at our steering committee, that we engage the boating population as well as one of our partners, and I don't think that's been done, but I have spoken to Mike McEwen at Beacon Bay, who would love to have the planners show up on a Saturday morning when the place is full, and I'm sure any of the other marinas would welcome it too. So my question then, combined with what Councillor Rawson is saying, is there still time to do some more reaching out to the community, aside from the visioning, about getting some more feedback from various groups like cottagers and boaters? We don't have as many cottagers as some of the other areas, but we certainly have a huge boating population, so that's my primary concern at this moment.
So thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So this is the first phase. This is, I believe, phase 2 of a 5 or 6 phase project itself. Throughout the whole project, there are multiple opportunities to go back out and consult and tweak and refine any of the visioning comments, the goals, objectives, or policy that flows from that. I would probably second Councillor Rawson's comments there, that it was slightly disappointing to see such a low turnout at our visioning exercise. And I know Greg did come up here on the very first day of our Bayside Market and set up a booth and was engaging with some of the visitors to the town dock area. So whether or not some of those included the boaters, not specific to some of the ones who go to the local marinas. So we will be continuously going back to the public and asking for their feedback or for their comments, and making sure that we're still charting the course for the town, which is reflective of the residents and the council's desires for how the town will grow and look in 25 years.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So perhaps at the next meeting you can give us an enhanced work plan of reaching out to the community. Thanks. Is that doable?
So through the official plan steering committee, we did approve a communications strategy itself. Sorry, I don't have that up on my screen, but I can pull it up and exactly see what other planned activities we have in terms of engaging with the community.
Okay. I'd like to provide all of council with that, how we will continue to engage as we move forward in this year-and-a-half-long process. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Dubel.
Yes, in light of the conversation that has taken place, can we receive this for information versus approving in principle? I mean, I kind of agree with Councillor Rawson that it's a big step to approve this in principle. I know that there are other opportunities for discussion, but if we approve this in principle, can we go back to some of what's been presented this evening?
Well, Deputy Mayor Dubel, of course, approving in principle, we can change, but I think we're more likely to get more engagement if we do accept it for information. I think that's a very, very good idea. I'd just like to ask Councillor Lauderd's nodding his head. So I think if we accept this for information and get more clarity on a work plan of reaching out to the community moving forward.
Yes.
Councillor Lauder. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I certainly do agree with Councillor Rawson. I really did like the idea bombing, and it brought a lot of people. We did make several attempts to bring people in. We did have our session, our official plan review session at the Brian Orser Hall. It was disappointing how many people came in. Likewise, we did have recently after that, we had our Champlain Road, and there was slightly more people at that. So we do need some explosive ideas in order to get people involved and to bring them into. Sorry, I'm not degrading or anything, any process. I'm just saying that we do need to be more inventive on how we get interchange with our residents so that we do hear them. It's very, very important for our future, so I do agree with Councillor Rawson.
Thank you very much. I really like the work that's been done on the visioning to date, but I think we need a better level of comfort with our ability to reach out and engage. Anita. Andrea?
Thank you, Councillor Levy. If it's improved in principle or if it's received for information, either way, I think the consultant will have enough direction to move forward and continue doing the background work that's required for it. And approving this document in principle isn't saying that this is the final time you're ever going to get to see it. In essence, you will get the policy directions and you will get a draft official plan to have multiple times to review the policies as well as the wording and concepts presented there. So I'm fine with whether it's received for information or whether it's approved in principle. In essence, it doesn't change what's happening and what's going to happen moving forward.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Procedurally, Madam Clerk, can we have a friendly amendment to receive this report for information?
Absolutely. I was just changing the motion that the draft vision report dated June 2016 be received for information. Should we still leave the subject to refinement during the course of the official plan review project, or that part would be removed? Makes no difference?
That's fine.
Okay. And that was, that friendly amendment was from the Deputy Mayor? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, for friendly amendment, do we need a seconder? Councillor Rawson? No, not a friendly? That makes it unfriendly, right? Okay. So do we vote now? Alrighty. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand, Councillor Saunders.
No, it just strikes me that one of the reasons we haven't had the kind of response from the public we would like is I don't think we've done a good enough job of selling the public on how important this is. You talk to a lot of people around town. First of all, they've never heard of it. Secondly, they might have heard of it, but I've got something else going on that night. In other words, in their list of priorities, it's not way up there. My second question is, and it's on the same line as Councillor Rawson, there's some things in here with which I violently disagree. When do we get a chance to express that disagreement? So that, the agreement is not with our consultant, the agreement is around this table here. So that we, when this goes forward and it has our support, we are of like minds about what it is, what it contains, what's important.
Councillor Saunders, perhaps we could, I'm not sure what people's schedules are like, but it sounds to me like we need to go through the motions with the entire council that we do with our our steering committee, where we sit around a table with the consultants, with Andrea, and have a separate session. Does that sound like something council might be interested in? Because this doesn't really give us the form to go through a lengthy document and everybody express. So if we all go away and do our homework, come back, and have Andrea schedule us a meeting, does that sound like something you could? Well, actually,
I would hate to see all of this investment wind up with that kind of
official plans don't sit on shelves. They never do. They are a working document. But having said that, I think what I'm hearing tonight is council has an appetite to delve into this at more of a working level. Councillor Rawson?
Last meeting, we had a motion come forward from the Trails Committee about active transportation involvement with the official plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to assume the Trails Committee's been involved and they've been invited to participate. So I'm going to ask the question, has the Seniors Committee, the library, the museum, all of our stakeholder committees been involved in this process, including our Youth Council? That's a question. And if not, why not, and when will they?
Thank you very much. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So I guess the quick answer to that is we were getting this document in front of council, so it would be approved in principle, so that when we actually take something to our youth councils, to our different committees, that they have something to actually know that they can comment on. So we were intending to do that once the council approved this in principle, and they will be involved throughout the process.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rawson. So sorry. Mayor Marshall.
Yeah, and in fairness to staff, that's the regular routine. So I've been through this before. So the process that's unfolding here is the process that normally unfolds. You get the idea, and those ideas get floated out to the public and to all our committees. So we're on course, on track. So
okay.
Yeah, keep it up, but I agree that we need to get more people out, and it's tough. I can tell you, when the official plan with the County of Simcoe, 465,000 people, we struggled to get 92 in a room. It's a tough job. So it's Councillor Saunders' point of somehow we have to get this some excitement and some passion. So take that in mind as you move forward.
Thank you very much. So I think Andrea's heard us loud and clear tonight, that she will come back to us with lists of more people that will be reached out to. It's unfortunate that we couldn't get them out initially, but if we have to be a little more creative and emphatic, then we will be. So thank you very much, Andrea, and thank you, Jeff. Jeff? Yes. Arthur. Arthur and Greg. Got it. Sorry, Arthur. Okay? We did approve that, correct? To accept. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, I messed your name up. People do it to me all the time. All righty. Moving on to the Natural Heritage Study update. Consultant selection, recommended action that the Committee of the Whole recommends to Council acceptance of the proposal date May 20th, 2016, to retain the services Skelton, Brumwell and Associates, Inc., for a maximum upset limit of $29,842.85, including HST, to update the Natural Heritage Study. Andrea, did you want to speak to that?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So Council did approve the release of a request for proposals to complete our Natural Heritage Study update. That was done, and on or before the deadline, we did receive 8 different proposals from a number of various groups of environmental planning consultants or environmental consultants. As directed, you'll see that we did include a budget within that RFP, so the report does describe the consultants who did submit proposals and their proposed cost with HST. The recommendation is to retain the services of Skelton Brumwell Associates. They're a reputable environmental planning firm out of Barrie, and their proposal did come in under the budget that Council had approved of $30,000.
Very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm having a big problem again with how we're doing this. We decided to go out for our official plan. We put out a budget of $100,000. We get a price of $99,850. We go through and we say we're only going to budget $30,000. So what does it come in at? Within a couple $100 of $30,000. So to me, we're still going about this very, very, very wrong when we advertise what we want to pay for something. We should advertise for what we want and then decide. My second question was, I was still under the assumption that our current natural heritage study was not that old and did not need to be changed, so I'm just wondering where we are with that.
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRue. I will have Andrea answer that or speak to that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So there was 2 questions there. So I think I alluded to the fact that the RFP didn't have a budget included in it. So I did get a number of questions from the consultants as per the RFP where they were asking for the budget, and I did not disclose that to them. So as you see from the report, there was a range of proposal costs that came in with that RFP. There were only 2 of those 8 submissions that were under the current budget, so those 2 proposals were focused on in by planning staff as well as public works staff who spent some time looking at the proposals. Severn Sound Environmental Association, we're all familiar with it, and Skelton Brumwell, I don't believe, has done a number of too much work up here, but they have a significant amount of environmental planning work done. So given that direction by council, that's where the recommendation for Skelton Brumwell came in. The second part of that is our natural heritage study was done in 2001, so it's about 15 years old. There's been a significant number of changes to provincial policy and legislations, the provincial policy statement, as well as such things as the Endangered Species Act. Now we have the Species at Risk list. All of those things have changed how we're to do natural heritage planning in the town. And the purpose of this is really to provide some additional information to inform the official plan review process. It's one of those component studies that is beneficial to the town to have in order to create policy for future growth and development.
Thank you, Andrea. And Councillor Rossin, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a couple of concerns as well. The report speaks well about Skelton. I don't know anything about them, and they have a nice CV, and I like their pictures, and that sounds wonderful. Sunshine and rainbows. But Councilor Lauder brought up quite a bit in our T&E section about how do we score this stuff? What's the RFP? How's the matrix? And we asked for a matrix to see what that's like. We're taking everyone's word tonight that Skelton's the best, the second from the bottom, and we're going to take it because they're $157 off of our budget amount, and everything else is equal. We have no idea. We don't know what the matrix looks like. We can't base any decisions other than their CV looks nice, so it's going to use color pictures, but you're not giving us the information to make an educated decision on what's right here. So with fairness, the same discussions we had with every other RFP we did, what's that scoring mechanism look like? How did you score that? Let's see that on that table like we've done the T&E stuff, and then let's compare an apple to an apple. But here we're not going by. Our director just said, we're all familiar with Severn Sound Environmental Association. Exactly, so why weren't they the ones picked? He didn't tell us, he just said, we don't know the other guys, but they're good because they're $150 off. Where'd the other ones go wrong? What's wrong? Like, what, did they score terribly off? We don't know. Nothing's in this report to show us that. So based on that information, I think I'm going to defeat this one or oppose it because we don't have the information. Refer back and give us the information, make a decision.
Well, perhaps we'll ask Andrea to explain what process she used. Mike Lauder and I were involved going through with the higher priced official plan update, and Andrea had a very good process, and I assume she used the same one, but I'll let her defend her process.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So the RFP, which Council did approve prior to its lease, did provide some criteria for how proposals were going to be evaluated, such things as demonstrated relevant experience in providing the services asked for in the request for proposals, number of staff, and budget was one of, I think there was 5 or 6 different types of criteria that we evaluated. And so as Councillor Levy said, staff did look at that and evaluate these proposals based on that.
So as a follow-up, how did Severn Sound rate compared to Skelton then? Where did they fault?
Oh, so, go ahead, yeah.
I'm a little hesitant to answer that question because I feel like it's a negative against Severn Sound, and I'm not sure that's appropriate for me to be disclosing how we felt they lacked in their proposal.
I think, sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. Perhaps you can stress more of why the firm that was chosen, and I don't think we really want to get into any negative aspects of any other bidders. We don't want to prejudice any other work they do. We're not hiding. Our senior staff got together and made a choice based on the information they were given. Could you remind me who helped you make this decision, who went through the process with you?
Certainly. So the manager of Capital Works, Jeff Hamlin, and I were the two that reviewed this, the proposal submitted. So perhaps just to answer, so when we reviewed them, Skelton Bremlo stood out to the both of us, given that they had a wide range of ecologists prepared to participate in this project, from water to terrestrial lands systems, and that to us was important, as well as that they specialized in planning staff, which would help with the official plan review process and providing the planning policies, and that forms a big basis of why they were recommended.
Thank you very much. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When we put matters out for tender, my understanding, Stacy, you can correct me here, is that we have agreed we're going to take the least expensive tender that's proposed. Is that accurate?
I actually would go to the Director of Planning to, but as far as I'm concerned, every RFP that we've put out has specifically stated that we will not always select the least cost.
Which implies then, going back to Councillor Rawson's point, that we must have reasons why we didn't take the least expensive. And I think it is entirely fair ball, perhaps not in an open session, but it's entirely fair ball for Councillor Rawson to get an answer to his question.
Sorry, Mayor Marshall?
I agree with Councillor Saunders. So one of the things that, how we handle this, and I just look to staff as, for future references, you always worry about, having public comment, and I appreciate where Andrew's feeling a little uncomfortable. And what we do is it's just firm A, B, C, D, E. So council doesn't know who the firms are. We see the matrix and we understand, we ask questions. So it's not about, Fred's contracting versus Doug Rawson's contracting. It's firm A, B, C. Here's how they ranked and here's why we picked. So for future reference, that's a way to publicly have a conversation without getting into difficulties. Having said that, though, so looking to our CEO and clerk here, I agree with Councillor Rawson, deserves an answer to a question. It is frustrating when you don't have the matrix in front of you. So can we go in camera now? Can we defer this? How would you, CEO, would like to handle this? Because I agree we can't handle it in open, but how do you want to handle that, Jeff, moving forward? Defer it for 2 weeks and go in camera? Go in camera now, perhaps?
Through you, Chair Marshall, my suggestion, so Andrea kind of highlighted, I think that in summary, in comparison to other firms, in particular SSEA, there was a broader range of services and broader expertise of services available with Skelton Brumwell. My suggestion might be, I'm just not sure that this would qualify under the in-camera component. I do suggest, or I do concur that certainly in future we can look to improve upon our reports with respect to RFP awards. But I'm not sure if that satisfies Councillor Rawson's question or not, but ultimately I think it was a broader range of services, broader range of expertise, a broader range of staff component that ultimately pushed Skelton Brumwell to the top.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I don't think it's uncommon for us as a group to award a contract based on the expertise of the person that senior staff or the organization that senior staff has deemed to be the most adequate to do the job. Having said that, I have no desire or appetite to derail the process at this point, while at the same time respecting that Councillor Rawson and others at the table perhaps would like to see some changes going forward, which Mr. Lees has just spoken to. So absolutely, we can do that, but I would like us to vote on this tonight and certainly deal with Council's desire to see some changes to the awarding of tender in the broader corporate-wide scheme. Councillor Rawson.
I'm going to disagree wholeheartedly. I've said this more than once at this table about this in planning department, and Councillor Lauder, you brought us up in the teeny section. We've talked about the color of trucks before, and we need to see this on a matrix. This is more than the first time we've asked for the same detail here. We're asking for the detail here. If we're not going to get it, I'm going to say let's defeat this motion as is, or defer it back and come back with the info. But I'm going to say we all got to work hard tonight and defeat this motion. If you're going to call for the vote, or defer it back and come back with the info.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rawson. Did you have something to add there, Mayor Marshall?
Sure. I certainly, number one is I trust our staff, so I can certainly vote in favor of the recommendation coming from staff. I trust that you rolled up your sleeves, and I trust that staff moving forward will have a matrix in front of us, it's A, B, C, or something that we can get through there. So I'll certainly be voting in favor, and I'll call the question, please.
Okay, so you're moving this?
If it's not moved, I'll move it, yes.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Saunders. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
There's a different aspect to this that we haven't talked about, and this is public document. There's an organization that put in a bid, it's the lowest bid, and I think they're entitled to have a sense of why they were not adequate, why they were not picked when they were clearly the lowest bid. If I were sitting where they are, I could suggest that this is in some way a condemnation of my organization, and I don't think that's fair to this organization. Now, we haven't even discussed that aspect of this whole thing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Saunders. I sense the rules of engagement corporate-wide are changing possibly tonight. This is new to me. We award tenders for the 15 years I sat around this table. We've awarded tenders based on staff's recommendation. We've had a few questions here and there. But no, we haven't gone into the detail that council is asking for tonight. I'm a little, I understand that you want the assurance that things are being done transparently and openly, but this is a corporate-wide change, in my opinion. We've always been diligent. We've questioned staff, but we're being asked tonight for things that I have not heard us being asked for in other sections or awarding of tenders. So this is up to CAO Lees and perhaps the mayor to sit down with senior staff and come back to us with a proposal how we're going to satisfy everybody's need for transparency and openness, and how we deal with the low bid and what we say, what the matrix looks like. So this is bigger than tonight's issue, I believe. Mr. Lees, would you like to comment on that?
I guess my only comment is certainly I hear committee loud and clear that we do need some we certainly will come back with some improvements in terms of when we are proposing a notice of award with respect to RFPs. I think certainly. I hope we provided some clarity in terms of why Skelton Brumwell was selected, or why they rose to the top in comparison to specifically Severn Sound Environmental Association. I do believe the process was followed. It may not, and certainly in various discussions with Andrea, I'm comfortable that the process was followed. It may not appear so in the report, but again, I think we'd be happy to answer any further questions that the committee might have with respect to differences.
Well, the CEO just said we'd be happy to answer the question. My question still has not been answered. On the record, I'd like to say I have asked, and I have asked in this section for this detailed report. So we have talked about it. Based on all this stuff that we've talked about, I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. And everyone go on record that how transparent we're going to be or not about this matter.
My next question would be to Andrea. Is it possible to delay this to the next meeting and possibly get a full report?
I'm going to call the question.
I'm sorry? I'm confused. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Sorry, to clarify, the question is to why Severn Sound was not selected?
No, I'm asked procedural assistance,
Procedurally,
please?
we have a motion on the floor. The question's been called, so Doug's looking for the recorded vote. So, yeah, we can't defer it. Now, we've got to deal with the motion on the floor, is what Councillor Rawson's suggesting.
Thank you very much.
Motion on the floor for recorded vote is that the Committee of the Whole recommends to Council the acceptance of the proposal dated May 20th, 2016 to retain the services of Skelton Brumwell and Associates, Inc. for a maximum upset limit of $29,842.85, including HST, to update the natural heritage study. This was called for a recorded vote by Councillor Rawson. Councillor Rawson.
Opposed.
Councillor LaRose. Councillor Mayette.
I'll go for it.
Councillor Leroux.
In favor.
Councillor Saunders.
Opposed?
Deputy Mayor Dubois.
In favor.
Councillor Lauder.
In favor.
Councillor Levy. Mayor Marshall. That motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Facade Improvement Program Review Proposed Guideline Update. Recommended action that the following amendments to the Facade Improvement Program guidelines be approved. Require a minimum investment of $1,000 in order to be eligible for funding to be approved. Set 3 intake periods for applications under the Facade Improvement Program to the following. First intake period would be for the last business day in March for the construction year. Second intake period would be set for the last business day in July of the construction year. And the third intake period would be open to all applications on a first-come, first-served basis if funding is available in the construction year be approved. The grant allocation formula for the Facade Improvement Program be as follows. Project budget under $20,000, 30% up to a maximum of $2,000. Over $20,000, 10% up to a maximum of $5,000. Make applications ineligible to receive funding if a grant has been approved in the previous 2 years during the first 2 intake periods and be eligible during the third intake period if funding is available. Prioritize applications which repair and/or restore original heritage, characteristics, or elements of the building facade. Exclude signage as being eligible for funding. Include the following types of construction projects be eligible for funding: awnings, cycling infrastructure, and energy-efficient projects. My colleague, Councillor Lauder, through the Downtown Business Association, as well as Planning Director Andrea Betty, have been much more involved with this project than I have, so I will ask perhaps Councillor Lauder to add his comments to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add just a couple of comments, then I'll pass it on to our Director of Planning. But one of the things in the notes that was presented was the fact that over the last X number of years, I think it's something like 7 years, Council has supported to the point of $15,000, to the point of $40,000 Council has supported, and it has resulted in facade improvements to the tone of $140,000 in our downtown area. With that in mind, we've had the project budget under $20,000, similar to what it is now, 30% to a maximum of $2,000. So really, that's very similar to the entire facade improvement program. We put in the second over $20,000. If the project is budgeted over $20,000, then the council or facade improvement program would look towards financing up to 10% to a maximum of $5,000. The purpose of this then would potentially, with the monies that we have allocated on an annual basis, $15,000, would, for $15,000 council's or Town of Penetanguishene's investment, we would result in $150,000 worth of town improvement. Is that not correct? For $15,000, we'd result in $150,000 worth of town improvement. So we're really trying to maximize and push people as much as possible, push our business as much as possible to see the fact that by improving their facade, by improving their looks, it will improve their businesses and also our town of Penetanguishene. So that's one aspect that I really feel very comfortable with. It does improve or heighten our entry level up to $5,000 from the current $2,000, but it really emphasizes that we want companies to really put as much as possible in. Andrea, would you like to comment on any other?
It's my job. Oh, no.
No, you had already asked.
I know.
Thank you very much, Councillor Levy. So this report was a big one and a complicated one, and it really the idea behind some of the information that was contained in this report is to give a little bit more background as to why communities do fund facades through the use of community reserves in our case itself. And it really is twofold. Is one, to offset some of the expenses and costs associated with our downtown, with the businesses that have older buildings, which are usually in need of more repairs than some other buildings in town. And the second one really is typically we were looking to improve the assessment base in the town. The downtown areas are typically areas that are commercially taxed, which are higher tax rate than other areas of town, residentially zoned areas, so forth. And so by increasing that assessment base, the town is actually going to receive more in taxation from those businesses. So we did a fulsome review of this. We provided some initial comments to the Downtown Improvement Committee. We went ahead with a survey, trying to get some ideas from the community of what they knew about the program, of what they felt about possible changes to the program. And so the recommendations here from the Downtown Improvement Committee reflect those comments received by the public, as well as recommendations from the Downtown Improvement Committee.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Councillor LaRose, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As everybody knows, I will be opposing this. I have for the last 25 years. This report was basically written in 1990, as it states in here, in 1991. None of the recommendations have been followed through. The town has never put forth a theme. The Business Association has never put forth a theme. When you look over our last 8 or 9 applications, what have we done? We've paid for a window to come out. We've paid for some stucco on a building. We've paid for, I think, one place to paint their roof. None of that has accomplished anything that this report laid out 25 years ago. So I don't believe that it's fair. I don't believe that it's a nice way to go. I think it leaves a select group of people only to look at that. It's also supporting big multi-billion-dollar corporations. I don't understand why we need to be involved in doing that. So for those reasons, and we'll go nice and easy tonight on it, we'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Councillor LaRose. Any other comments on the changes to the facade program?
If there is one more, I would like to make a motion. Sorry? I was just
motion.
thinking of it more now, yes.
Go ahead, Councillor LaRose.
I would like to put forth a motion that we cancel the program completely. We look at it in the next budget cycle and send this back for review to staff to come back with a better looking type of system.
The motion's been made and seconded. Procedurally, please, Madam Clerk, help me out here.
I'll just need to clerk that up for a minute here with the assistance of Councillor LaRose.
Sorry, procedurally now, we have a motion in our agenda that we were just discussing. Do we vote on that first, or we go to the new motion we've never seen before?
That's right. Councillor Saunders is correct. The motion that we're discussing hasn't been moved or seconded.
Thank you very much to all of you.
What I'm hearing from Councillor LaRose is the motion that he would like moved is that the facade improvement program be cancelled, period. And that has been moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Rawson.
Councillor Louder, yes?
I'd like a recorded vote with this, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. Again, repeating the motion on the floor for recorded vote is that the facade improvement program be canceled. Councillor Lauder.
Opposed?
Councillor Mayat.
In favor?
Councillor LaRue.
In favor.
Councillor Levy.
Opposed?
Deputy Mayor Dubois.
Opposed?
Councillor Saunders.
In favor?
Councillor Rawson.
In favor?
Councillor LaRose.
In favor.
Mayor Marshall.
Opposed.
That motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, moving on. Referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. That the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Promotion of development and growth annually. Thompson Road West Extension, June 2016. Development charges, targeted incentives and opportunities, June 2017. Legal opinion on draft plan approval subdivision, spring 2016. Land inventory report, April 6, 2016. Agribusiness in the industrial zone, fall 2016. Secondary suite report, 2017 to 2018. Facade improvement, oh, never mind. There, one of your jobs has been taken away. Okay. Any additions or amendments from the referrals? Councilor Rawson? Okay. Very good. Question period from the media and public.
Mover second.
Oh, sorry. Mover and seconder. Okay, moved by Mayor Marshall, seconded by Councilor Rawson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Question period from the media and public. We have one public. Mr. Public, do you have anything to say? Thank you very much. I thought I'd give you the opportunity. We're done.
Thank you very much. And move on to 7, Section B, Transportation and Environmental Services. Now turn the chair over to Councillor Rawson, please.
Thank you, Worship. Before we move into teenies, members want to take a 2-minute recess for a health break? Yes, no's? 2-minute recess. We'll recess to do a health break, and we'll be right back. Oh. Number 2 is the preliminary PSAB 3260 environmental liability estimate. It's recommended that council approves the preliminary PSAB 3260 environmental liability estimate. Report provided by Golder Associates Limited. A mover? Councillor Rose, seconder. Councillor Myatt, discussion. Councillor Lauder.
Just a couple of quick comments. I look at the Ojibwe Landing site, and I see most of it, literally if you put a percentage, about 99% of it is negligible, and only the small corner is of high risk. Is that an accurate depiction of this drawing?
Brian?
In terms of the percentage, Councillor Lauder, you're talking about the physical area itself, or?
Yes, I'm just looking at it and looking at the picture. If I look at it normally, right now I see all green. I have to highlight it and bring it up close before I see the actual tiny bit of high intensity at risk in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that reflects the results of the actual Ojibwe Phase 2 environmental assessment that we just completed, and the report reflects those results. Yeah.
Great. Okay, that's very much better than I thought. And my other question was, or comment, does the town actually own the land on which the dock lunch sits? Sorry, yeah, the dock lunch.
Brian?
Thank you. Through Councillor Rawson to Councillor Lauder, the actual parking area that the dock lunch uses for its customers is actually owned by the town, and I think the actual property where the dock lunch is situated is owned by the property owner.
Because just in looking at this diagram here, it just looks like that entire area is has color to it, and so I'm trying to look at this diagram as all of this property the town owns because it's being reported on. Mm-hmm. So some of this property that's being reported on is actually non-town property.
All of the property that's reported in this report is town-owned.
Any further discussion? Councillor LaRue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to bring up some clarification on the concerns that Councillor Lauder has, I'm very familiar with all the properties and concerns at the dock lunch since I've been involved with that particular property since 1982. And contrary to Brian's statement that the parking belongs to the town, the parking in front of the dock lunch was exchanged in 1982 with the municipality for the launching ramp. Mm-hmm. And the property going out into the lake was exchanged for a right-of-way in the road, so that the dock lunch is owned by the dock lunch and the parking in front of it is owned by it. And there's a landlocked piece of property that belongs to Nick Bedures between the two launching ramps, and that little roadway is an access that's part of his agreement.
Thank you. Any further comments? Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Number 3 is the Main Street Reconstruction Project for Main Street and Thompson's Road intersection design. It's recommended that council approves the design of the Main Street and Thompson's Road intersection outlined within drawing SF-2 dated June 2016. A mover? Councillor Rose. A seconder? Seconder? Deputy Mayor. Discussion. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, I'm a little disappointed in that we have two different types of diagrams for our two intersection design views. The roundabout shows a satellite, whereas the diagram that we're asked to make recommendation on tonight does not. So, as far as I'm concerned, the diagram for recommendation should be a satellite mapping so that we could have a proper comparison with the roundabout. Second point is that the car lanes should be shown in all directions. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think the depiction of the road is going to be accurate because both the northbound, originally we were talking, or not originally, but there has been discussion about a dedicated right and a potentially dedicated left-hand turn lanes being required. So that would add to the current size of the road that's being depicted in the diagrams. And these extra lanes would certainly have a great impact on the adjacent buildings that are not shown right now because, you know, we're just seeing diagrams, we're not showing a satellite viewing. And then finally, with that dedicated right-hand turn lane, which has been discussed, the concept of Murray Road should also be shown in order that we could validate the comparison with the roundabout. So we're being asked to approve this diagram, and I think the diagram itself does not fully represent what we have talked about in the past, some of the concepts.
Thanks, Councillor Lauder. I think the SF-2 is not the roundabout. Right? We discussed that a while ago. This one's not that roundabout motion. Okay. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Number 4 is a verbal update from the Director of Public Works regarding the sewage treatment plant. Brian. About the last item or this item?
I'd just like to ask, have we approved curb alignment now?
The motion was that council approves the design of the Main Street and Thomas Road intersection outlined within drawing SF-2.
So just give me an yes or a no, please.
So that was approved, and that will go to council in 2 weeks. And update on the sewage treatment plant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Right now, we're working diligently with our contractor and our engineer to get the remaining deficiency items that were identified by our engineer. Right now, we're at approximately 300 deficiencies and reducing that amount on a weekly basis. What we've done is we've set up meetings on a weekly basis with our contractor and engineer to go over the deficiency items that have been resolved or yet to be resolved, and whittling those remaining deficiencies down to a point where we have none. And that's continuing efforts moving forward. And be happy to answer any questions from council.
Thanks, Brian. One question I think many members may have is during the Champlain closing ceremonies, there was lots of comments about odor emitting from the sewage treatment plant and whether or not it was one of the 300 deficiencies. I wonder if you can speak to that for us, just to add some clarity in for public.
Certainly. That is one of the deficiencies that we're currently trying to nail down and address. Our engineer and biosolids contractor are working to isolate the source of this. We've actually had our staff actively going out trying to determine the source of the odor concerns, and we think we've isolated it to a few areas, but we're trying to test certain items. So on one day, it won't emit any odors, and some in other days it is actually cropping up. So we're trying to isolate that and to determine the cause. And I can tell you it's one of the most critical deficiency items that we're trying to address.
Mayor Marshall.
Brian, my understanding is this is going to continue on, though, until you actually get up to full capacity. My understanding is, from talking to folks from across the province of Ontario who've gone through these organics processing facilities or sewage treatment plants, until you're actually at full capacity, odor emissions are going to be a common problem, and they are going to pop up in disparate or different areas of the infrastructure. So my question's more, when will we be at full capacity? Because that, in my understanding of talking to those who know better than I on this, is that full capacity is the solution to the problem.
Yeah, and in the full capacity, I guess my question is full capacity in terms of flow is what you're referring to, or just in terms of getting the optimization of this process finalized?
It's the flow they're talking about, so
yeah.
Operational.
Yeah.
So full capacity
Yeah.
in operational mode,
Yeah.
so where it's going to be
and
there
again,
forever.
I'm obviously deferring to our engineering consultant too for this as well. But there is a number of items that need to be optimized associated with the process. And once we have that identified, we're hoping to get this resolved and so that there is no odor. We've made strides in additions to our plant in terms of odor control that are to be resolving these issues. So in my mind, it is just a deficiency issue and should be resolved once that's identified.
Any other members have questions on this item? Thank you, Brian. Next is a verbal update from the Director of Public Works regarding the Champlain Road reconstruction. Verbal update. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As of today's date, our ditching contractor is working away on the northern limits of Champlain Road, doing the western side of the road ditching in completing that work. We also had a project pre-construction meeting with our pulverization and stabilization contractor, Rotomil and Beamish, this afternoon prior to them coming on site. And it was a very good discussion. We had took about an hour long, and there was attendees from both contractors and then our engineering consultant. And their work plan so far in terms of being on site is the third week of July, which is July 20th to 22nd. We're looking at starting the base stabilization work. It will take about 2+ weeks to complete, and at that point we're looking at getting base asphalt down as soon as we can. That'll be Beamish Construction's portion of the contract, and having this completed by the end of August.
Thanks, Brian. Any members have a question for the Director? Councillor LaRue.
Not necessarily a question, Mr. Chair, just a comment that the fact that I'm using that road quite a bit in the last bit, and just to let you know, Brian, that a great number of the people have made comments how they appreciate the traffic light control as opposed to flag persons. Much better system.
Great job. Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you, Brian. Number 6 is a verbal update from the Director of Public Works regarding the Severn Sound Environmental Association Park Maintenance Plan referral item. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I put this on as a verbal item on our agenda. The SSEA Park Maintenance Plan is a referral item under T&E, and I've searched high and low in conjunction with Kelly at the town office, and we just can't seem to recall how this became a referral item. I'm just looking for some clarification as to how this item came about.
This one came in T&E, I think, in February by the mayor, and it was about what can we cut and what can't we cut, and how can we do what we need to do down at the park, and do we need to talk to SCA. So the mayor brought that forward out of T&E around February-ish, and I'll let him speak to. I may not have clarified what his intention was, but that was what I recall, the referral item.
Yep, thank you for that reminder, and that's exactly what it was. So we actually talked about how to, clear the park. So we got a lot of unkempt areas of the park, a lot of overgrown areas, some trees that are problematic in terms of they may come down. So we need to get in there and do some house cleaning and clean it up, like you would any other park. So I understand normally that our Parks Department yourself would just go about your business, but the SSEA has a stake in the game at the park. So in other words, get them down there, say, here it is, we want to clean it up, we want to trim, we want to clear, we want to get rid of invasive species, all those type of items. So that's really what it was.
Sorry, through Councillor Rawson to Your Worship, is this plan in the form of a policy document that you would like to see?
I don't know if there's a policy so much as maybe put into next year's budget. So we've got an unkept park, and we need to spend some money in that park. We need to clean it up and clear out some trees and get rid of some invasive species and maybe trim and so come up with a plan. But in order to have a plan for us to budget, we need to understand what you can and cannot do from the SSEA. So, for instance, when we had the blockage, so we weren't draining properly to the water, you weren't able to just go in and clear out the culverts that were blocked because the SSEA had come in and talk about silt and that had to happen. So we can't clean up our park or have a budget or a plan to clean up our park without the SSEA coming in for a plan. So maybe I'm looking for a staff report recommendation for next year's budget for the park, I suppose, Brian.
Okay.
Whatever gets it cleaned up, I'm fine with. So I just want to get down there and clean up. We're investing millions of dollars in our park, and it's getting used more and more. So we need to take care of it, keep it tidy, clean. But having said that, SSEA needs to give their seal of approval on what we do.
Okay. So this would be I guess I see this as an ongoing operational issue. Obviously, the trees will always continue to grow and need to be cut down at the part or trimmed. So is this something that would be brought forward for committee and council consideration and then for approval or consideration at the 2017 budget process?
And I think that was the general sense that we wanted.
Okay.
What do we need to do to keep it beautiful? Any further comments on this item? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. If I may, the park part of it, if not all of it, has a certain designation through Severn Sound, and we definitely have to speak to them. I recall some years ago, I had the same idea as Mayor Marshall. I thought the pond itself should be cleaned up, and there was some discussion at council, and I tell you at 9 o'clock the next morning, Mr. What's his name? Keith Sherman was in the office, and we had to go for a walk, and there were certain things you could do and certain things you couldn't. So I certainly would recommend speaking to him, have him come over and go for a walk through the park. But I agree, there are some things that need to be taken care of.
Any further comments on this item by anybody? Brian, are you good with that?
Yes, I think I've got good direction. Yeah.
Great. C is referrals to upcoming agenda and staff. And before I read them out, I'm going to ask if anybody has any additions, deletions, revisions to any of the agenda items. Seeing none, I do have one or two here, Brian. One, I'll move and hopefully someone will second. We talked last time about the tendering plan for the Main Street. And I'm wondering if with that, if we can see a communication strategy and plan on how we're going to communicate with the public. You know, how are they going to get around and how are we going to keep them up to speed? So whole communication plan about the actual project.
I guess I was looking at once we were a little further along with our Main Street plans, I was going to bring forward. I was thinking that item could be under the best practices for redevelopment of Main Street item.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yep. I'm good with that. So here's the referral items. That Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Thompson's Road extension options, key performance measurements for road operations, best practices for the redevelopment of Main Street, Severn Sound Environmental Association Park Maintenance Plan, Thompson Main Street intersection design, Pantangashine bus identification, Main Street tender, policy regarding the road direction amendments, transit ridership numbers, which will be a standing item. A mover on these items? Mayor Marshall, second by Councillor Saunders. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Questions from the media or public?
We've outlasted them both. Okay, moving on to Finance and Corporate Services, and I'll turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our first item is consent agenda, and there are no items under consent agenda, so I will move to matters for consideration. The first item, a recommended action that the Town of Penitanguishene defer our insurance RFP until 2017, and that staff be directed to work with Tay, Tiny, and Midland on a joint insurance RFP. I did speak to Carrie today about that particular issue. I will be supporting what is in front of us this evening. I think it's a great idea that we collaborate and work with all our local municipalities. I need a mover. Moved by Mayor Marshall, seconded by Councillor LaRue. Discussion, further discussion? Yes, Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I support the spirit of this motion very, very much. I'm wondering if we should not be including the county as possibly one of the members of this joint insurance.
Yep.
Thank you for that comment. That was a consideration today, and I think Carrie did commit to talk to His Worship, we're in a perfect situation where he can bring that forward for us.
Shall. Be happy to.
So that's something that we'll report on. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Second item, tax and utility bill insert policy amendment. Recommended action that the amended tax and utility billing insert policy be approved as presented. I'll ask for a mover. Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor LaRue. Discussion. If there's no, oh yes, thank you.
Just one, thank you.
Councillor LaRose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say thank you for the finance section bringing that forward so quickly. It was nice to see that we're going to give it a try again. You know, hopefully this time it'll stick.
We are going to give it a try, Councillor LaRose. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And then our third item, Summer Council Committee of the Whole schedule, recommended action that the amended meeting schedule for 2016 be approved as presented. Moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Rawson. Discussion? I don't think there's any discussion. We'll have a meeting or two less, which is great. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Referrals to upcoming agendas and staff referrals, that the Finance and Corporate Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. Resident Reporting System, Clerk CAO, July 2016. Community Engagement Initiatives, Clerk CAO, August 2016. Insurance RFP Review, Fee Review, Land Sale Policy Review, Minutes Distribution Timetable, Thompson Road Extension, Asset Management and Debt Management Strategies, Taxi Licensing Review, and Sign Bylaw Review, and Budget for Special Events, 2017 budget process. I would just like to comment that the taxi bylaw and sign bylaw review, we did have a report that came forward asking members of council to step forward and help out with these two ad hoc committees. And in checking with the clerk, I think there's only been one person so far that has come forward. So I would encourage people to give that some consideration. I'll call for the vote.
Oh, sorry, I wanted that one.
Yes, Your Worship.
And I'd look to Stacy or Jeff just to make sure I got this on the right one. I'd like to have a staff report in our smoking policies in our parks, on town properties and parks, and in particular our waterfront parks. So I think there's a different level there as well. So I know it's down in Santa Monica, and there's no smoking signs on their park. The fee is $5,000, and you get nobody smoking in the park. So I'd like to understand what that is. We're investing in our parks. We're investing in our waterfront. I was down at the splash pad 3 times. You know, you see people smoking and putting out their cigarettes or flipping their cigarettes. Now I've got little children out there in bathing suit, bare feet. It's a health hazard, health issue. And I'd like to have staff give us a report. And I think FCS is the right section to bring it up under because they set that. So I look for a seconder for that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Councillor Rawson, and I would like to comment as a member of the Simcoe Muskoka Health Unit. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. That's something I've been thinking about. The town of Bradford, or no, Innisfil, they have a policy, so perhaps we could check with them because they have a policy and there's no smoking in any of their parks. And the city of Aurelia, Stacy, is also, I believe it's Innisfil that has a policy, and also the city of Aurelia. So maybe that's a resource for you on that particular item.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's actually something staff have been looking at behind the scenes currently, actually, that we were hoping to bring forward. So we're on the same page.
Very good, thank you. If there's nothing else for finance, I ask for approval of our future agenda items. All those in favor? Carried. Question period for the media, we have none. Your worship,
So-
I'll turn it back to you.
Back to me, so I'm looking for somebody to move. We adjourn at 10:16 PM. Councillor Rawson, Councillor Lauder, all in favor?
Fine, but...
Oh, sorry, you- questions
No,
on
no,
adjournment?
no, actually, I just wanted to make a comment.
Sure.
I'm wondering if...
Oh.
I thought it was her angelic persona. Yeah. And the other thing else would...
blind.
And Stace, something else to check, so I was curious as to why I didn't see the other additional pages on the application to waive that for Jaden's parents getting married. No, but it doesn't come up in the split screen. So on the split screen, it freezes on the agenda. So it came up in HTML, and when you go to HTML, what you see is actually you get there and you get the sign that says save or print, and it says pages 1, 2, 3. That's not coming up in the split screen at all. So you had, when you go in there, you don't recognize that there's more pages to go down through. So I try to understand why that was, because I mean, it's obviously if you go down to page 2 and 3, you see what's going on. But so our split screen, it doesn't tell you how many pages are on that particular item like it does in all the other features. Thanks. And we are, we did a motion to adjourn. All in favor? I'm sure that was passed, but where we go. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.